If you've ever struggled to breathe because of the wildfire smoke, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. It is Thursday, July 16th. We are almost at the end of the week. We've got a stacked show for you here today. We're going to go through some of the news and some of the earnings, like Taiwan Semiconductor that reported here this morning. I've got two guests for you today, so be sure to lock in. And of course, it is Friday Eve. So we're almost at the end of the week. It's great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here today. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Thursday edition for July 16th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. It's great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here, and I hope that you all had a wonderful Wednesday. We're back for the penultimate day of the week, and hopefully we can send ourselves off into a nice weekend here. I'll be honest, I know that the East Coast was dealing with it yesterday, but here in Chicago, it is hazy and smoky. The air quality is terrible. Oh, yeah, and it's still hot. So hopefully y'all are doing better than we are here in the Midwest. Peter is first here today. Good morning, Peter. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Southern Couple, good morning. Have a great day, everyone. We'll take positive vibes early. Absolutely, we'll do that. Absolutely. Good morning. Derek, good morning. Welcome back. It's great to see you. Zach McCracken, good morning. And good morning to the Benzie gang. Space sector will tank with SpaceX and then rebound. That is my 2 cents. I agree with that for the large part. We're kind of waiting for SpaceX to really find a bottom. I still think it's probably going to be sub 100, although I don't know how much time it's going to take to get down there. We're trying to hold the IPO price here this morning, the 135, but we'll see how that shakes out here today. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Azrar, good morning. Welcome back. Liam, it's great to see you. Good morning and welcome back. Absolutely. Southern Capital, smash up the like, guys. Smash up that like for us. Free way to support us. We really appreciate it. Buffalo by Bicycle, good morning. Says the full podcast with Ryan and Marcus is posted, FYI. You should check that out. I wish I had the link handy. I would just give it to you here. Producer, I don't know if you have it, but if you have it somehow, maybe throw it in the chat. Otherwise, we'll have to ask Marcus when he shows up here. Thank you, producer. He'll take care of that for us. So good stuff, Buffalo. I hope you enjoyed it. I did. I had a great time. Marcus is a great interviewer. So Brett, good morning. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Richard Judge, good morning. Welcome back. Don't forget to smile today. Indeed. Gotta smile. Gotta smile. Gotta have positivity every day. Crispy Biscuit, good morning. Welcome back. Producer, thanks for all you do. Appreciate it, boss. Solitary Soldier, good morning and welcome back. Francis, good morning and welcome back. Ed, good morning. Ed says, is it Friday yet? No, it's Friday Eve. We're almost there. But Ed, remember yesterday when you asked about ATAI in the happy hour show? Yeah, and we said that this could go to 10, really. We talked about it being possibly a takeover target. Well, guess what? Eli Lilly is going to buy it out here this morning. That thing traded up to a 9 handle earlier. So really good timing. I hope you were able to make some money off that. I didn't know any of it, but really good stuff. And glad that you brought that ticker to the group's attention yesterday. So really good there. Durkis, good morning. Welcome back. Samara Train, good morning and welcome back. Don't mention the football. I'm sorry. That was a crazy game. My buddy that lives in London said it was absolutely mental over there. Just tough. The World Cup, though, is undefeated. This World Cup has it's just been so good. Saturday and Sunday are your last two games. Linda, good morning. Welcome back. Jeff, it's great to see you again. Welcome back. Just passing through. Good morning. Welcome back. Tyler, good morning. Dimebag, good morning. HP Darkside Hemi, good morning. Billy, good morning. Billy says V has more news here today. I'm sure we'll take a look at that in the pre-market pulse segment of our show here today. Big Bees, good morning. It's always good to see you, boss. Welcome back. Delvin, good morning. It's good to see you too. AC, welcome back. Good morning. Jay Kubuz, good morning. It's great to see you. Jay Wild, well, we got a lot of J's in here. I love it. Welcome back. Good morning. Graph, good morning. We got together. Good morning. Crankbait, good morning. Pot G, good afternoon. It's good to see you again. Neville, welcome back. Good morning. And Best Life, good morning. It's great to see you here. Kelly, good morning. Smash up that like. Kelly's been telling us all week to smash up the like, so I'm going to reiterate it. Smash up that like for us. And up 30, good morning. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, futures are mixed here ahead of Thursday's open. S&P futures down 0.31%. The Dow futures are actually minorly in the green, up 0.13%. That's on the back of the UNH earnings that came out this morning. That stock traded up, and that brought the Dow into green territory. Let's see if we can hold on to that here. It is the only indice that is green here in the pre-market. NASDAQ leading the way lower, minus 1%. And actually, we'll do a quick check-in on oil. Oil is $80 exactly on the oil futures. That represents a gain of 0.5%, so a 0.5% to the upside. All right, let's take a look at some cues from last session, as well as what we have going on here today. Consumer discretionary, financial, and communications services stocks recorded the biggest gains on Wednesday, while utilities and energy stocks bucked the overall market trend, closing the session lower. U.S. stock futures declined on Thursday as the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P indices fell following Wednesday's close. Again, the Dow has moved into positive territory so far. President Trump said Iran wants to negotiate even as U.S. forces launched a second wave of strikes against Iranian military targets. Meanwhile, the U.S. Treasury announced new sanctions targeting an international network accused of procuring weapons for Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard following the attacks on commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.57%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.15%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show that the markets are pricing a 89.8% likelihood that the Federal Reserve leaves the current interest rates unchanged during July's meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today, and the first one is actually going to be J.B. Hunt. They reported earnings last night, and they ended up beating. They jumped 7.91% after posting upbeat results for the second quarter. It reported quarterly earnings of $191 per share, which did beat the analyst estimate of $171 per share by 11.7%, and that stock is still holding its gains here this morning. The next stock on our list is going to be a GAPE ATP. The ticker is ATPC, and it surged 55.56% following the Securities and Exchange Commission filing that disclosed a new stake held by proprietary trading firm and liquidity provider Jane Street Group, LLC. The next stock on our list is AST Space Mobile. The ticker is ASTS. It tumbled 10.01% after the company announced a $1 billion proposed public offering of convertible senior notes. The next stock on our list is going to be GrowHub, and the ticker is TGHL. It gained 33.89% after the company announced a $400 million merger agreement with NChem. And the last stock on our list is going to be Atai Beckley. The ticker is ATAI, and it soared 55.59% as Reuters reported that Eli Lilly, ticker LLY, is in talks to acquire Atai Beckley, with a deal possibly announced as soon as this week. All right, let's take a look at the SPY chart here. Thank you, producer. Now, we've really just been kind of trading sideways recently. I know we've kind of broke above this trend line, but realistically, we were sideways here, and I'm sorry, I don't know why. There we go. We are still sideways here, but we'll see if we can actually challenge this high. Now, we've really kind of been looking at this high from Friday, July 10th. That high is 755.42. Now, in the overnight session, we actually tapped 756.22, but since then, we've steadily traded down. If we take a look at the inside here, or the intraday chart here, you can see SPY has steadily been moving down this morning. Now, we'll see if we can hold 750 and 751. 751 is basically where we bounced from yesterday intraday. I know we overshot that a little bit, almost hit 750 exactly. But that area, again, should provide some support. So we'll watch 750 to 751 today if we continue to trade down. Otherwise, we're kind of waiting for what is the next catalyst that could possibly send this higher. The chart certainly looks like it wants to go higher. We've talked on Happy Hour quite a bit that the options sure seem like it wants to, they're positioned in such a way that we want to go higher. But really, what is that catalyst? And the earnings so far haven't been enough to actually drive that move. So we'll see if we end up getting that. With TSM being negative here, not sure it's today, but let's watch TSM in the New York session today and see if we get any type of bounce. Now, let's take a look at some insights from analysts here. BlackRock remains tactically constructive on the U.S. stock market while navigating a fundamentally transformed economic landscape. In its commentary, the firm maintains an overweight position on U.S. equities, noting that strong corporate earnings fueled by the AI build-out and a favorable macro backdrop are outpacing higher interest rate expectations. Now, within equities, BlackRock advises focusing closely on AI bottleneck opportunities such as power, chips, and data centers. Regarding the broader economy and policy environment, BlackRock emphasizes that a structural shift has taken hold, reinforcing its view that, quote, the global rates reset is real and significant, end quote. The firm cautions that underlying inflation remains too firm to confidently return to the Federal Reserve's 2% target, which will likely keep the central bank on hold. In this new regime of elevated rates, fixed income dynamics have changed, while higher yields have made durable income an opportunity again. BlackRock warns that long-term bonds are, quote, less reliable diversifiers, end quote. Consequently, the firm prefers the front end and belly of the U.S. yield curve and advising investors to target areas where they are best compensated for risk. So still cautiously optimistic, but again, it still feels like there's a little bit of hesitation. And I think that that is emphasized in the charts too. We really just don't have the ability yet, it seems, to break to a new area, and we continue to chop around in this sideways area. I did see that Lawrence McDonald was on CNBC this morning, very early this morning. He says he expects a market crash type sell-off between now and October. So some varying opinions across the board out there. Now, let's talk about our first news story here. Let's actually start with the chart. We'll get an idea of the lay of the land, if you will. You can see here that TSM is actually down 4.88% now on the back of its earnings here. And you can see where this is taking us. I've got the 100-day moving average at 393.12, and frankly, there's another support area right under that. Let's call it 389. So this 389 to 393 area should be pretty significant support. We'll see if we can end up holding that here. On the upside, would really love to have a recapture of that 50-day. Now, that's at 425.36, so that's going to take a pretty good move. I'm not sure we get that here today, given the earnings report. Speaking of that earnings report, let's dive right into that. We also have some news here on Taiwan Semiconductor regarding their Arizona project. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, or ticker TSM, delivered a fifth consecutive record quarterly profit and beat Wall Street expectations. At the time of this writing, however, TSM stock fell 4+% to $400 in the pre-market. It's actually sub 400 now. TSMC reported second quarter net income of 706.56 billion new Taiwanese dollars. That's roughly equivalent to 22 billion US dollars. And that was up 77.4% from a year earlier and well above the 632.64 billion new Taiwanese dollars that analysts had expected. Net income also climbed 23.4% from the previous quarter, marking the chipmaker's highest quarterly earnings on record for the fifth straight quarter. Revenue rose to 1.27 trillion new Taiwanese dollars, or 39.45 billion USD, during the April to June period, and that topped the consensus estimate of 1.264 trillion new Taiwanese dollars, increasing 36% from 933.79 billion new Taiwanese dollars in the same quarter last year. The company said its most advanced manufacturing technologies, the 7 nanometer and below, accounted for 77% of total wafer revenue. Earlier this week, TSMC also reported robust June sales, capping another quarter of record-breaking financial performance. TSMC has emerged as one of the biggest beneficiaries of the global AI boom, manufacturing advanced processors for technology giants that include the likes of NVIDIA, Apple, and Broadcom, and that's NVDA, AAPL, and AVGO, respectively. Strong demand for AI accelerators and other high-end chips has helped the company consistently exceed expectations while expanding its profitability. Quote, the second quarter was supported by strong demand for our industry-leading process technologies, end quote. That came from Wendell Huang, Senior VP and Chief Financial Officer of TSMC. TSMC said it expects third quarter 2026 revenue to range between $44.6 billion and $45.8 billion. That's based on an exchange rate assumption of new Taiwan dollars 32 to the US dollar. The company forecast a gross profit margin of 65 to 67% and an operating profit margin of 56 to 58%. Now, we had some other news. That takes care of the earnings here, but we actually had some other news for Taiwan Semiconductor. They're pouring over $100 billion into its Arizona plant to keep up with the strong U.S. customer demand. So we've talked about how these companies are going to continue to try to increase their capacity, whether it's TSMC or Micron or SK Hynix or any of these. And while these ramps take time to increase that capacity or simply build a new factory, this is definitely something that we want to watch because this might actually end some of the high flyers that we've seen, or maybe not end them, but perhaps put a pause in some of the violent upside moves that we've seen. TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor, ticker TSM, will pour in extra $100 billion into its Arizona facilities to cater to the burgeoning customer demand. On Thursday, the chipmaker's chief executive officer, C.C. Wei, told an earnings conference that the additional funding is targeted at building several semiconductor logic wafer fabs for 2-nanometer mass production technologies. That's their most advanced chip. TSMC's total investment in Arizona will now sum to a whopping $265 billion. Wei underscored the company's dedication to fulfilling the escalating demand, stating, quote, this is to build several or more semiconductor logical wafer fabs for 2-nanometer mass production technologies, as well as advanced packaging fabs to support the strong multi-year demand from our leading U.S. customers, end quote. The news comes as TSMC posted record second quarter results, with net income surging 77.4% year over year to $22 billion. And that beat the analyst estimates and marking its fifth consecutive record quarterly profit. Revenue also climbed 36% to $39.45 billion US dollars, which also exceeded expectations. The move comes in the wake of a broad trade agreement between Taiwan and the Trump administration, which paved the way for TSMC's expansion. The company had previously acquired more land in Arizona and fast-tracked fabs in response to the new U.S.-Taiwan trade agreement that reduced tariffs on Taiwanese goods to 15% and included $250 billion in planned Taiwanese investment in the United States. Furthermore, TSMC's decision to boost its investment aligns with its strategy to ramp up next-generation chip production and global capacity. The company had earlier announced a 70% increase in 2-nanometer production to power the AI future. This move was also backed by billionaire investor Louis Sanders, founders of Sanders Capital, who owns approximately 28.1 TSMC shares valued at about $9.5 billion, making the chipmakers the firm's largest holding. On Monday, TSMC reported a 67.9% year-over-year increase in June revenue, lifting its first half 2026 revenue to 2.4 trillion new Taiwanese dollars or 75 billion USD, up 35.6% from a year earlier. So it would appear that the tariffs and the deal worked here, at least on the case of TSMC, as they continue to pour more money into the Arizona fabs. The quicker we can get that up, the better it's going to be, and the better it's going to be for all of the AI companies as well. So great to see that being shored here on the United States and then also being boosted and expanded. All right, I did want to cover Lucid here real quick. I'll actually go to the chart. How are we doing on time? We're good. We've got 11 minutes till our first guest. Let's go back to the chart here and let's take a look at Lucid. Now, we've talked a lot about Lucid in the past. I know that there are a lot of folks that end up trading this. If we take a look at the intraday chart here, you can really kind of get an appreciation for what happened. On Tuesday, we had a rumor about bankruptcy and going private. That actually sent the stock down into a 2-handle. Very shortly after that rumor broke, we had someone from the company deny that that was the case. It bounced back. Yesterday, it got back off and actually went higher from that initial drop-off period. And this morning in the pre-market, it's actually staying sideways. So Lucid looks like it got everything back here and perhaps ready to move higher. Now, Lucid stock, which is down about 44% on the year, skyrockets over 28% after the CEO goes on the offensive against the bankruptcy report. Quote, so far from the facts. So they normally don't comment, as we're going to see here, but I thought that this would at least be relevant, especially for those of you that trade EV names or Lucid in particular. Lucid Group, ticker LCID, the CEO Silvio Napoli on Wednesday slammed rumors of the automaker filing for bankruptcy following reports. The automaker's CEO took to social media platform LinkedIn, saying that the company did not generally comment on rumors, but then added that reports were so far from the facts that they required a direct response. Napoli said that the automaker was, quote, not considering bankruptcy or a transaction to take the company private, end quote. And he said that the reports were flat out false. He said the board has also not explored any such scenarios. Quote, as disclosed in our most recent quarterly filing, Lucid has sufficient liquidity to fund its operations well into next year, end quote. That came again from Napoli. He added that outside advisors had not advised the company to file for bankruptcy and that the reports of any such advice were also untrue. Quote, my priority is clear. Turn this company around. That is where the leadership team and I are focused, end quote. And he went on to add that the company will be providing a full update during its upcoming earnings call. Now, Lucid stock has been volatile since the beginning of the year. Year to date, Lucid stock has fallen nearly 44% to just under $6 per share. However, following the CEO, as well as the company's pushback against the reports, Lucid rebounded over 28% and currently trades for $5.95 per share during the pre-market trading on Thursday. For the second quarter of 2026, the automaker produced 4,774 vehicles and delivered 3,953 units amid a series of changes in its leadership. The company's chief communications officer, Nick Twork, had earlier denied rumors of bankruptcy, saying that the automaker had delivered a cease and desist letter to the outlet behind the report. Twork had also noted that the bankruptcy and take private claims, quote, have been publicly and unequivocally denied, end quote. That was, of course, by Lucid. Now, still good on time here. Indeed, we are. Continuing on the theme of some of the EVs, this is another one that you folks have traded. In fact, I could have sworn I saw someone yesterday say that the more they look at XPeng, the more they like it. XPeng's new SUV launch reveals a bigger Tesla challenge with level 4 autonomy and in-house AI foundation model planned by 2028. XPeng, which is ticker XPEV, on Thursday outlined a path to level 4 autonomous driving by 2028 as its Mona L03 carries the automaker's latest artificial intelligence platform into China and Europe, sharpening its challenge to Tesla, ticker TSLA. According to a report by electricvehicles.com, the roadmap advances from XPeng's current SEPA 3.0 architecture to SEPA 4.0, which the company says will combine level 4 autonomy, an in-house AI foundational model, and embodied AI across vehicles and robots. The L03 serves as the first global showcase of SEPA 3.0, pairing XPeng's second-generation vision language action system with its Turing chips. XPeng opened Chinese pre-sales at 143,800 won, or about 21,200 USD. Every trim includes the Turing chip, while higher versions run the full VLA system on multiple processors. The launch follows XPeng's strongest month of 2026, when it delivered 40,126 vehicles in June, and that was up 16% from a year earlier. The roadmap also turns the L03 into a test of Tesla's lead in assisted driving. XPeng CEO He Xiaopeng has argued that the VLA performs better than full self-driving on narrow roads and in difficult situations. Reuters reported in May that XPeng's benchmarks VLA 2.0 against Tesla's full self-driving V14, while Tesla's latest system still lacked Chinese regulatory approval. Reuters previously described Tesla's full self-driving and comparable Chinese systems as level 2 driver assistance products, meaning drivers must remain attentive and ready to intervene. XPeng's level 4 target would allow the vehicle to drive without human control under defined conditions, but the company has not released SEPA 4.0 performance details. XPeng has already widened the technology beyond its own cars. Volkswagen AG, which is ticker VLKPF on the OTC, began mass producing its first jointly developed XPeng-based models in March, using XPeng's autonomous driving system and Turing AI chips. The company is also building robotaxis, humanoid robots, and flying cars around that same VLA framework. Well, I'll tell you what, the future is here. If you weren't ready for it or if you blinked, you might have missed some of it, but the future is here. Flying cars, robots, and robotaxis. Giddy up. All right, we got a couple of minutes here before our first guest. Let's go. I got one more story for you here, and this is on Microsoft here. Now, Microsoft wants its sales team to push its own AI models instead of rival OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic, and I would imagine, at least on the surface here, this seems relatively obvious. Microsoft, ticker MSFT, has reportedly instructed its sales team on Tuesday to position an in-house AI models above rival offerings from OpenAI, Alphabet's Google, and Anthropic, and as part of a fiscal 2027 strategy session. Executive Vice President Jay Parikh told staff, quote, "Everyone else is selling parts. We're selling the full end-to-end system," end quote. And that was reported by Bloomberg on Wednesday. According to that report, Copilot chief Jacob Andreou compared Copilot with Anthropic's Claude, saying it was slower, less accurate, and did not have strong security integrations across Microsoft's Office apps. Microsoft did not immediately respond to Benzinga's request for comment, but as we get any updates, I will bring them to you. The strategy session focused on promoting Microsoft's in-house AI models as more efficient and less expensive than competing offerings. The rivals it compared itself with, OpenAI and Anthropic, have long provided AI models used in many of Microsoft's own products. The change comes after Microsoft ended OpenAI's exclusivity through a deal in April. It also follows a recent report that Microsoft is replacing OpenAI and Anthropic models in Word and Excel as part of an effort to reduce costs. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella recently said companies, quote, "pay for intelligence twice," end quote, when they rely on third-party AI, warning that using outside models can expose valuable business knowledge to external vendors. Meta, ticker META, also signaled plans to undercut rivals, with CEO Mark Zuckerberg suggesting its new model API could be priced roughly 25% below OpenAI and Anthropic. JP Morgan, or ticker JPM, analyst Doug Amenth said this on Monday. So we'll see where these end up going. I know that there's a lot of folks out there that use Claude in Excel. It'll be very interesting to see if that switch to Copilot is palatable and allows those users to remain as productive as possible. All right, let's go back here to Benzinga Pro. All right, now I have promised you folks two guests here today. We're ready for our first one. Please welcome our special guest, Henry Schwartz, VP of Derivatives Market Intelligence at the Cboe Global Markets. Good morning, Henry. Welcome back. How are you today? Oh, I can't hear you.
How about now?
Perfect.
Okay, great.
Good morning. How are you doing here today?
I'm doing great. It's a little smoky in Chicago this morning. I guess it's coming down from Canada.
Yeah, you're not kidding. I woke up here this morning and I went out there. It was still dark and it smelled like there was actual burning going on. And I realized it was actually the smoke from the fires there. Hazy, hot, and terrible air quality. I still see golfers on the course, though. Got to admire that. Got to admire that. All right, Henry, what do you got for us today? Uh-oh.
I lost it. Now I can. I'm back.
Okay. Okay. You can hear me okay, right?
I can't. I think we're good now.
All right, great. First of all, I know you had some graphics here that you wanted to share. Are you going to be sharing your screen? Did you want our producer to take care of that?
I think you guys can throw them up yourselves. I think I had two. One was specifically for Netflix earnings, which are today after the close.
Okay.
And then the other one was basically just kind of a look at the strategies that we're seeing, particularly coming from the retail trading base.
Okay, so I think my producer's got those ready here. I'll let him handle that. Let's just dive right in here. It is the start of earnings season. What have you seen so far with some of the big stocks to report, like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and IBM? Let's talk about that before we get into Netflix.
Sure. So, I mean, options let people, very specifically trade around earnings. And it's actually very interesting. So we see a little bit of a shift in the activity into earnings. Effectively, a short-dated option straddle is a prediction of how far a stock is going to move. So, and the fact that we now have, weekly, if not daily expirations in a lot of the very active single names, we can look at basically the straddle that expires a day or two after earnings and say, okay, look at if the straddle is priced around 8 or 9%, then that really is the market's prediction of how the stock's going to move. Then you just look at that and you compare it to how the stock has moved historically, and you can kind of see if sentiment has changed in terms of are we going to get big blowouts, or is it going to be kind of business as usual? The other thing that's really interesting is I pulled some data. In anticipation of some of these corporate KPI event contracts, which Cboe is actually working on. So things like, basically, are earnings going to be, more than $1.50, when they're released? Some kind of new, new instruments that are kind of around the corner. And in some cases, we actually see option volume goes down into earnings. So that actually surprised me. I kind of expected, well, it's earnings week. You're going to see a lot of trading and positioning for earnings. And it's very kind of hot and cold. In financials, so, you mentioned JP Morgan, we actually do see options activity picks up in front of earnings. So we see basically traders are putting on positions basically to kind of reflect their view on how earnings are going to go, how the stock's going to move. In some of the other names and some of the tech names, we actually see the option volume kind of declines into earnings. So, the other, and then magnitude's kind of easy, right? If the straddle's 8%, then basically your break even on owning the straddle is an 8% move in the stock. Direction is kind of a different animal, right? Like really trying to we look at positioning basically and say, okay, listen, into earnings we see we see the magnitude is pricing out at around 8 or 9%. And then we look at basically our customers buying calls. Is the open interest increasing on the call side? Or vice versa, or kind of what structures people are putting on to reflect their views.
Okay, now really quickly here, I've always kind of thought about straddles as this is either a touchdown or a turnover, to borrow an analogy from football here. Do you have any indication on like a percentage, or if more of the straddles being bought are ended up paying out, or if these traders are losing on that? Do we have any stats on that?
So it has a lot to do with kind of what time frame you look at, and in general, things seem to be priced pretty efficiently. So which really means that basically, as a strategy, if you were to buy every single straddle into earnings, you're probably going to it's going to be a wash. You probably will lose actually some slippage, some transaction costs. But what's I think most interesting is actually early on, it's a little bit like some of the kind of sports betting, as the odds move, that there's information there. And so what we see is kind of a repricing of the straddles based on how peers move. So if you do get a big blowout, right? Like, IBM that was a pre-announcement, that wasn't earnings. But when you get kind of a big reset, then people are like, oh, hang on a second. This straddle that had been trading around 7%, might actually go up to 10, 11% based on kind of seeing some of the highly correlated into stocks, if they move more than the straddle expected. And in some cases, we do see moves that are 2 or 3 times the straddle price. That's the blowout, that you're talking about. But in general, it does seem to be a pretty well-priced phenomenon. But it's a great kind of opportunity if you do have a view going into earnings. It's kind of a great way to put on, a trade that will put you into the stock. If you want to be long the stock and you're going into earnings, because there's a lot of extra volatility premium in the both the call and the put, you can basically sell the one that you're kind of comfortable getting put into the position with.
Okay, now that's great. I appreciate that. Great breakdown there. Now you talked a little bit about Netflix there. How can we apply some of what we just talked about, or what we've learned from J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and IBM, and then apply that to Netflix, which does report tonight, as you mentioned?
Right. So yeah. So I think the snapshot I sent yesterday that you can put up is the Netflix straddle and then kind of the historical earnings moves. So, and some people actually they're very specific about it. Like earnings is almost a kind of a specialty in terms of some traders basically get out of the way and they just really don't want to have a position on. And some traders specifically say, no, I want to trade earnings. I want to put on this position. And so what we're looking at right here is simply the information from the option. So we look at the implied volatility for the short dated options and then the implied volatility for the slightly longer dated options. And we can calculate what the standard deviation is. It sounds, it's options math, but in the end, what you're really doing is say, look, the only difference between the short dated options and the longer dated options is earnings. And that's all going to come out in one day, really in one moment, right? When the news is released.
Mm-hmm.
So so what we're looking at here, basically, you can see that the July 17th straddle, which expires tomorrow, so it's the perfect straddle for earnings. That's really all that it is all that it's kind of useful for. Has implied volatility of around 108%. Okay, so if you're looking on your options chain in a platform, that's what you're going to see. The longer dated options are around 67. That differential is coming from the fact that you got one day and there's going to be a significant move on that day, that's much larger than the move that's kind of typical for the name. And so basically you see, statistically, that's a 1 sigma move. That's your standard deviation, which is at 65 to, which could put the stock between 65 and $82. Now that 1 sigma move happens basically about 2/3 of the time. So you can see a move beyond that, but that's kind of statistically what we're looking at. And so you actually just translate that daily implied deviation to the actual expected move, which is about 2/3 of that. And then Netflix gives us about an 8% expectation, which is kind of in line with where it's been. So basically what it's telling you is that the market is saying, listen, there's going to be a move, but there's kind of nothing unusual about kind of this quarter's expected gap in the stock after the close today.
That's really interesting, because the way that we've kind of looked at Netflix, just from, maybe I want to call it like a fundamental perspective, but from like a non-options perspective, the way we've looked at Netflix is that this is actually going to be a very key report here. They're changing around some of their content. We've identified that they have a content problem. So that's really interesting. Options kind of say, if my read through on that is that the options kind of say that there's nothing special about this print, but us as traders have kind of a different view. We actually think that this print's going to be extremely important for Netflix.
Well, and it's kind of differing opinions is what makes the market, right? So
absolutely.
there really is an opportunity then, if you have this, if you have a view and you're willing to basically put some capital behind it, then, you can look at this and go, look, I think the market might be underpricing the risk of a move that, if you're kind of specifically looking at a downside potential reaction, then, basically those calls, which are pricing in, an 8% upside move, that might be kind of interesting to sell. Or the truth is, that means that puts might be underpriced. That we know that, when after earnings are released, you have a repricing of volatility, right? So, that's kind of the volatility crush that people talk about.
Yep.
But, the fact that, Netflix is a very liquid name, it's easy to trade. You can put on a spread or something if, so you're not just kind of laying out a big chunk of capital that really is reflecting the risk of the earnings. I might look at a downside put spread, just a vertical put spread. If you think we're going to get a move bigger than 8%.
Okay. All right. Really good breakdown there on Netflix. I know that's the big report that everybody's waiting on here today. So very, very timely in terms of this. My next question here for you is, do you have any stats or an update on either SpaceX or SK Hynix, the two biggest, most recent listings?
Well, yeah, the SpaceX was a super interesting situation. So, this is that what we're looking at right now is basically your quarter by quarter Netflix reaction. So you can actually see last quarter, the bar on the left is the expected move and the bar on the right is the actual move. So last quarter the move was bigger than that was priced in by the options. And then if you look at the quarter before that, it was actually less. So this is kind of the way that earnings trades work. And like I said, I think on the long-term kind of large data set, perspective, things are kind of efficient, but there are definitely pockets and situations, situations where a straddle might go out at, 5%, and stock was 25% on earnings because there's something kind of, surprising comes out. So, so talking about SpaceX, there was super, the media coverage was really kind of off the charts. You had you had an interesting situation. For the first time ever, we basically had some pre-IPO pricing information from the these overseas perpetual futures markets where SpaceX was actually trading. You could actually see, or at least an instrument that was effectively like SpaceX was trading. So we could kind of see that it was kind of going to open up around 155-ish. You could also do a little bit of volatility calculation. So because you at least had a few, data points to tell you how crazy the moves were going to be. So with SpaceX, we had a really busy first couple of days, like 2 million contracts a day, which was is a new all-time record, blows away what we saw in the previous record, which was Meta when it was actually called Facebook back then. And volatility came in pretty high too. You could actually, it was really interesting because we could see it was realizing vol of around 70 based on at least a few data points from those perpetual futures. And it opened up around 95% for the first couple of days. Stock, as I think you remember, stock got over $200 briefly. And then things really did kind of, settle down in terms of the stock price, but also volatility. So, now we're in SpaceX is running around 600,000 or 700,000 contracts a day. So it's kind of in the top 10, but it's not in the top 3, which it was for the first few days. And volatility has also kind of settled back down around 60%. It kind of feels like some of the excitement is basically worn off on that. SK Hynix was similar, but different. It's a mega cap, AI associated name. So plenty of coverage on it.
Yep.
But because that stock, it's an ADR, it really was already listed and available for trading in Korea. So there wasn't quite the mystery of like, geez, how are people going to trade this? You definitely opened up access. Now that you can trade it in any brokerage account, it's much easier for traders to get at. But that one also has been a little bit, it kind of priced out, more smoothly. Basically, you didn't really have the price discovery didn't have to follow the same process because you already had some pretty good information from the fact that it had already been listed. So what we're seeing in that name is a few 100,000 contracts a day. I think yesterday traded around 300,000 contracts. And pretty smooth markets.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if we get some of these other IPOs, how that stacks up to SpaceX and SK Hynix. I know for a long time we just assumed we would get OpenAI this year. Now it sounds like maybe that's going to get delayed. So it'll be very interesting to see how some of these other mega IPOs compare to what we saw there with SpaceX. And to kind of steal, man, one of the things that you said, well, we were waiting for it to open here. We were actually watching a price on Hyperliquid. I'm not sure how accurate that was or all, but we were looking for anything to give us an indication of what that price would open at. So, all right. Last thing here that I wanted to ask you, what are some of the most common retail?
It's been a kind of shift.
Oh, sorry. It looks like we got a little bit of a delay there. I did just want to ask you one more thing here. What are some of the most common retail trading strategies?
Sure. So this is kind of a new area that I'm digging into. Right, we see about 75 million contracts trading a day this month, which is all-time records, and about half of that is retail, which is really, really surprising considering where we came from. But retail trading activity is all-time highs, and so we basically able to look at the activity trading on the Cboe exchanges and identify. Use some techniques to identify how the customers are what strategies they're choosing to use. So if you look at basically this pie chart, basically just shows you have long single leg calls and long single leg puts are kind of among the most popular, right? That's kind of the beginning strategy. People buy options, but very quickly, and basically the way that kind of education and the market has evolved, we see customers coming into vertical spreads. Basically these capped risk strategies. Now this is This is specifically looking at the single stock universe. So the index activity and the 0DTE is not included in this. That's a slightly different mix. We see more vertical spreads in there. In the single stock world, basically we see primarily long option trades and short option trades. So if you look at the two biggest slices on this are the long calls and short calls. The long calls are basically people using options kind of for positioning, for speculation, for leverage. And given the way the market's pretty much holding near all-time high, we've had some pretty big moves, right? Especially in the AI complex. And then the short single leg calls, in a lot of cases, those are overwrites. Those are people basically trying to make some income on positions that they have, the stocks that they like to own, that they're keeping, but they want to basically give away a little upside in exchange for some premium. And then as the stock moves around, ideally stock kind of trades a little sideways. That's good. And considering kind of even though we've seen some pretty interesting action this year, we've kind of smoothed out, and the market's kind of trading sideways in a lot of cases. So and then you can basically see some of the other strategies, these vertical spreads, whether it's call spreads or put spreads. As I mentioned in Netflix, basically it lets you kind of define your profit zone, cap your risk if you're going to go short this strategy. And it's we can look at this. We can look at it basically on different symbols, and in SpaceX in particular, I wanted to kind of see how speculative and how kind of exuberant the retail investing community was. And it was not the kind of frenzy for upside exposure that I think some people were looking for. It really was interestingly, it was more institutional than retail. And then on the retail side, there was a day or two where it was kind of some call buying, but it really, kind of balanced out and actually looked to be a little bit more of a bearish positioning or protective positioning. In some cases, probably because customers that had gotten some shares in the IPO, that know that you're not really supposed to sell out of those too quickly. Some of the brokers will kind of, give you a black mark against you if you do that. But they can use
on the wrist, as they say.
Yes, they say please don't sell your brand new IPO allocation because we won't include you next time. And as you said, we've got things like Anthropic and a lot of other big IPOs in the pipeline. So people certainly care about that. So we're actually working on kind of a public facing dashboard for this to help people see on a symbol by symbol level what strategies are the most popular and kind of where the customers are focusing their capital.
Okay, that's a really good breakdown. Look, I got another follow-up question here on this. Have you noticed any change at all since the removal of the PDT rule in how retail traders are trading options?
We have, and in fact, in a few specific products, like Cboe has a number of proprietary products. SPX index, which is the biggest thing out there, but there's also this XSP index, which is the SPX divided by 10. That we've seen continued growth in there because that's become a very popular retail instrument. And literally the week that PDT went away from the big brokers, we saw a spike in activity specifically from those retail brokers, meaning some customers that had been trading and then stopping because they get these warnings from their broker saying, you've used up 4 of your 7 trades. Mm-hmm. It was actually a big problem because in some cases, customers wouldn't do a risk reducing trade because they didn't want to hit their PDT limit. Exactly. And that was one of the, JJ Kinahan was very vocal about that for years. Like, we're actually doing a real disservice to clients by saying, no, don't close that position. And, most option traders know if you're short an option, it gets down to a nickel or a dime, you really should cover the option because you've made, most of the premium is gone. So we have seen a spike in, little for some of these brokerages, we're talking about 10, 15% almost overnight when the customers were kind of unlocked and able to trade more freely. It took a long time to come around, but it was a big kind of improvement in kind of a realistic treatment because it was a little bit arbitrary the way that, that rule worked, and it was definitely antiquated.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. First of all, it's great to see the data prove our thesis here. One of the things that our group viewers and otherwise have been saying is that this actually didn't really help. Your example there about not being able to close out a position because you're worried about losing one of your day trades. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that from people that are trying to get into this game. And then what ends up happening is they take a huge loss. And your other example there about covering an option contract that's at a 5-cent ask. Like, what are you doing holding out, waiting for the last 5 cents? You've made most of your money there. Of course you want to close that. But the thought is, well, I don't want to waste these. So I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think it's antiquated. I never really understood it. I know our group here absolutely love. I don't know that I found a single person that legitimately says this was good and this helped me. I don't think I've seen that in all the years I've been doing this. So great to see the stats kind of bear that out. Henry, this has been great. Do you have anything else for us here today?
No, I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting, interesting earnings season. We've already seen some of the fireworks. We obviously have some major macro considerations that are still going on between interest rates and global conflicts. So it's not a quiet summer, that's for sure. And we're looking at options growth of about 19% year over year, which will be the 6th all-time record for options activity. And we've got new products coming out, including these, binary options, these XSP, event contracts, and as I mentioned, these KPIs, which we're working on. So there's a lot of the evolution of the market. I guess it's along the lines of AI, which, I know you were talking about. I think it's all people talk about nowadays. It's an exponential kind of growth cycle, and the options business is really participating in that. Because we've just got, everything is fire. You've got, very active retail community. You've got, pickup in institutional flow. You've got, markets that are really, all-time highs helps, right? Because it makes, there's a wealth effect there, but also you've got a lot of motion under the hood, right? You've got, a lot of dispersion. You've got some stocks going up very strong, some stocks getting hit. How that plays into the index option trading. It creates this whole dynamic where, you can pick your stocks. It's a good environment for stock pickers when you've got a lot of dispersion. And then there's index option trades that kind of, complement that, and basically that's what we're seeing, this dispersion trade, which has been a pretty popular trade for years, is just continuing to work for a lot of kind of the big institutional players that are active in that.
Okay, Henry, if it's okay, I'm going to take a question directly here from one of our viewers. One of our longtime viewers here, Big B's, asking, please ask about the 23/5 options on the most traded stocks. Is there anything you can tell us about this now?
So it's coming. This has been kind of an evolution of, as the underlying activity has started to trade round the clock, right? So the stocks themselves are more available to trade and more liquid after hours. Cboe we filed. We're still waiting on some regulatory process to be able to open up single stock options. We're talking about like very highly liquid Netflix, Apple, Tesla. Yeah. I believe the plan is to open them up about 3 hours before the 9:30 a.m. open. So we'll basically have a pre-market session. I think everybody realizes we're gonna get to kind of 24/7 or 23/5 trading, but we don't want to kind of rush in there because options are derivatives. You need decent liquidity in the underlying. Now we've had effectively almost 23/5 trading in the SPX and VIX and XSP, the index options, because the futures markets are really, really liquid kind of overnight. But getting the underlying stocks to that, something similar where you're not going to have, we don't want to have options available to trade if the markets are going to be, so wide you can drive a truck through them, right? That's just it's a very bad experience, and it's a little dangerous especially for kind of somebody that's coming to the market that might be a little bit new. So it's getting there. I believe our expectation is sometime later this year. But it will get there, and then what we're hoping to see is just kind of this inertia where the options make the underlying more liquid, right? There's a relationship there, and this all just kind of has to march together at the same time. And we're trying to be responsible about it, but it will be possible, and we see the market's getting there, right? You can trade on the weekends, you can trade you trade when you wake up at night if you want to, and we're just trying to make sure that that the market quality is good, the liquidity is there, and that there's a good use case for products. And around earnings is kind of the perfect perfect story, right? Like, earnings come out if they're after the close or they're pre-market. People then have to wait till 9:30 in the morning to start trading. That, with options specifically, right? You want to be able to trade around your positions specifically, like kind of as things are happening. And we're going to have that, but I believe we're probably going to see it in the end of the third quarter or maybe the fourth quarter.
Okay, that's absolutely fantastic. It really seems like Bitcoin is kind of pushing for that, right? Bitcoin, you were able to trade 24/7. Seems like everything is trying to go that way. Henry, this has been absolutely fantastic today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to getting more updates from you here in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.
All right, folks, that was Henry Schwartz, VP of Derivatives Market Intelligence at the Cboe Global Markets. Absolutely awesome content there. Bigabees, thanks for the question. I know we've been talking about that quite a bit on our own. Great to get an answer directly from Henry right there. So awesome stuff here. Awesome stuff, folks. All right, let me go ahead and throw Pro back on the screen here. We've got, 4 minutes before we do pre-market pulse. Let's see where some of the earnings are, stocks that reported earnings, I beg your pardon. We talked about TSM earlier. That was down. Okay, so it looks like maybe TSM is finally put in a bottom here. I still think watching the round 400 number is going to be key today, but it looks like we kind of put this bottom in here about 398. I want to say 398. So I think we can watch this here. Round 400 number, the psychological level, definitely going to come into play, but also watch 398. We'll see if this is able to hold and give us an upside move. Just as a reminder, that 100-day, 5 points lower down there at 393. So that might be another area to watch. One of the other stocks that I had mentioned earlier, although we didn't necessarily cover it, was UNH. And this is United Health Group. So let's take a look at this. This is still holding higher here by 7.2%. Let's take a look and see. The Bigabees, I'm really curious. Are you looking for a trade here on UNH? This is one that you've traded before with great success. And this chart formation here, we got earnings out of the way. This looks like an impulse move and kind of a hold higher here. This, to me, to my eye, looks like we want to go through 450 to the upside. So let me know if that's something that you're interested in. I'd love to hear how you're going to approach that. Really quickly here, United Healthcare Group, adjusted EPS of 638, beat the 486 estimate, big beat there. Sales of 112 billion, beat the 110.8 billion estimate. Also sees fiscal year 2026 GAAP EPS of 1845 to 1895. That was above the 1712 estimate, so that was a big raise there. And then adjusted EPS of 1950 to 20. That was above the 1843 estimate. So all signs go here on UNH, looking pretty good. Let's take another quick look here at the daily chart and see where we are at. So we did break above that trend line. This actually, this looks like this might want to test higher. I don't want to say 500, but higher we should go here on UNH. All right, and then let's see here. We got just a couple of minutes before 13 is here. I'd be happy to take a look at any of the stocks from the chat here. Good morning to any of those that are joining later. Kevin, Cam, Izzy. Izzy saying, Ryan, can you smell the smoke from Canada outside? In Michigan, it's bad. Yes, it is. I actually heard from some of my coworkers yesterday that it was bad yesterday in Michigan. Here, I didn't really notice it, but man, today it is terrible. There, not only can you smell it, but you can actually see it in the air. It looks hazy and smoky out there. The air quality is terrible. It's definitely tough to breathe. So, might be a good day to stay inside here today. Might be a good idea to stay inside. Okay. Joe here said, why just 23? What's with the dead hour? Ridiculous. I want to be able to trade every second. Your sarcasm there is noted, Joe. You know what? That actually would have been a good question, too. I'm pretty sure that it's more of like a balancing and an accounting issue, why they close it there for an hour, just so everything can kind of reach equilibrium, I guess is the right term. Should have asked the expert that. Though. All right. And you guys can still smell it in New York. So it's all over here. It smells terrible here in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. Yeah, I don't doubt it. Like I said, as soon as I opened the door, I actually thought there was a fire near my home. And there isn't. It's just the smoke blowing in. So, all right. It is definitely hazardous right now. I know I tell you guys all the time, I'm out doing 3.5 to 5 miles every day, even in the heat. Might not do that here today. Really don't want to breathe that in. All that's bad enough with the extreme heat. Okay. Is Velo cheap at 1050 or is it going lower? Well, I can't tell you for certain. We could always ask the 8-ball Aslaf if you want to do that. This to me, the chart formation here, the trend, yeah, it absolutely looks like it wants to go lower here. I did add a little bit of this. I'm in the spot where I'm building a position. I still like this long term. We actually talked, someone else had mentioned in the chat here how SpaceX is really kind of driving down the space theme. I absolutely think that's in play here for Velo. So I'm looking at this as an opportunity to add shares at a lower price and take a longer term time horizon on this. I certainly don't think this is an upside day trade or anything like that here today. Okay, it's time for pre-market pulse. Let's see how 13 is doing here today. Let's get it going. $13, good morning. How you doing, boss?
Doing all right. Looking forward to the launch today.
You're looking forward to launch. You don't have any smoke blowing down in Texas. That's way too far away, right?
We just have wind blowing.
Yeah, no, from the Canadian wildfires here, New York, Michigan, Illinois, all covered in smoke here. It's crazy.
Where exactly in Canada? I think the only way it could possibly end up reaching us if it was coming from Western Canada. I don't think if it's much further east than that we're going to see.
Yeah, and I think this is coming from Ontario. I figured it was a long shot, but I just wanted to ask you because there's a lot of folks that are talking about that. All right. Do you have anything you want to cover here right off the bat, or do you want to just go to those movers?
Well, we can go to the movers. I did mention that we have the Starship launch today. At least it's planned today. It's less than 10 hours from now. They just stacked it last night. Don't know if this is going to turn the whole space theme around. I'm not expecting it to. We're seeing a broad sell-off in a lot of the themes that we've been talking about lately as we go through this rotation. So even if everything goes swimmingly for the SpaceX launch, I'm not personally expecting there to be a turnaround in the space theme or in SpaceX. There may be, some positive trading tomorrow if everything goes swimmingly, but I don't think that it's going to mark a recovery.
Okay, and you think this? Do you think that this is just kind of the halo effect from the IPO, maybe slowly wearing off at all?
I mean, to a degree, maybe, but I think is more of what I said earlier. It's just rotating out of all the winners, space theme, quantum theme, a lot of drones, batteries, everything that's been a winner has been getting rotated out of. So, yeah, it probably is a little bit of the halo effect fading, but I think because we're just seeing a lot of rotation into the bargain names, the really beaten down names. That's more of what's happening here, in addition to the geopolitical tensions globally. But I think it's more about the rotation right now.
Okay, let's see how that launch goes. You said 10 hours, huh? So 10
hours, yeah.
Okay, so 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. It sounds like is what that time is, if I'm doing my math right.
Well, here I will provide.
Might not be. That's always possible.
I will provide a link for anybody.
Even better. Look how prepared
wants to follow along. There's NASA space flight. It's one of the channels I typically go for all my Starship information and watching launches. So they've got a lot of great information on their site and or on their page. And this has a live countdown that'll tell you when the expected estimated time to launch is going to happen.
Okay. Absolutely awesome. Let's do the movers.
Let's do the movers.
What do you have on your list? I guess we should start with those. Otherwise, I could just run it down from the top here.
Well, because the movers have not been that great this week, we haven't seen a real return to with volume yet with earnings season here. I've only looked at a few: Ruby, TGHL, and ATAI. And unfortunately, not a lot of great news with these because a lot of them are just M&As.
Okay. All right. Well, let me start then with ATAI, right? And one of the reasons I want to start with this is because this is one of the M&A but also is just very, very interesting. We talked about this last night in happy hour. We talked about this being a possible buyout candidate. We talked about this, at least from looking at the chart, looking like it could go towards 10, and it was 9 earlier in the pre-market and in the after hours. So just a very really awesome. ATAI ended up going here. Now, the news, ATAI Beckley shares are trading higher after the company announced it will be acquired by Eli Lilly. Now, it's Lilly to acquire ATAI for $675 per share in cash plus $250 per share in a contingent value right dependent upon milestones related to 2 of its programs. Those are 2 of its top programs. Total deal valued there at $3.8 billion. Now, a quick peek at the short interest on this name, 9.7%, 2.39 days to cover, but with the acquisition, that may not matter. 13, what do you think here on ATAI? I know you don't have a whole lot, but what do you have?
This is the one that we talked about yesterday, where I said, "Hey, look at earlier this month, they had a rumor that they were going to get acquired."
Yes.
Jesus Christ!
I know, dude. That's why I wanted to start with this one. This is Ed brought this up last night.
Yeah, he did. He did, and we talked about how it could be acquired. Oh my God. Okay, so here we are. I don't have anything really to add. Except great call, maybe.
Yeah, let me jump in here and add something real quick, because you did a really good job pointing this out. Shout out to the Benzinga News Desk team and the Benzinga Pro team here. July 6th at 9:48 a.m. we had a news post here in the news feed that's saying, watching Atai Beckley, shares see a spike in volume to the upside, and traders circulate an unconfirmed report from an M&A blog suggesting the company is in talks to be acquired. July 6th. 10 days later, bang, there you go. So it just goes to show you, we get asked all the time, why is Benzinga Pro good? How can you use this? We don't ever really know the future, but when you arm yourself with the best possible information, you're going to be in the catbird seat, as Anne-Marie likes to say. And this is an excellent example of that.
We have to find out later today what ended up happening with this, because I recall that at one point Chris was saying, yeah, just pick up like $200 or 200 shares of this and just sit on it. Well, I guess he doesn't have to sit on it for very long, because the very next day it just did the thing.
You basically just leaned against it. You didn't even have to sit on it. Also, Bernhard reminding us that Tom actually suggested Eli Lilly.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
so the happy hour, folks. It's worth taking a look at if you haven't been there
Absolutely yet. It is. We're real bright folks in there. And when they put their minds together, they raise the tide of everybody else in there. So just absolutely fantastic. 13, did you have anything else here on ATAI?
If I do, it would be icing on the cake, but I do not.
Okay.
I have nothing else to really cover on this. It's being acquired 9 to 9.25, I think, is where the math kind of says that the price is going to be valued at when you have the acquisition price plus the cash price. So you combine those two, you basically get 9.25. It's having a hard time getting past 9. I don't know if there's going to be a trade here today.
Yeah, watch it, but that's a perfect breakdown here. I love this, by the way. Vigor here saying luck favors the prepared. The truer words have never been spoken. And in fact, one of the things that I realized when it comes to the market, when I was like learning from people that have been doing this longer than me, one of the things that I realized is that the harder you work and the more you prepare, the luckier you get. There is a direct correlation there. And then obviously there's the epic line from Under Siege 2, which is a junk action movie from the 90s, that chance favors the prepared mind. So all of that, all of that stuff. Okay. You said TGHL was on your list. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So I've got that right here, and I can't help it, but there's basically a trend line literally jumping off the page for me. We'll see if you drew it the same way. This is the Grow Hub. Stocks up 58%. If we take a look here at the news on this, yes, we had here after the hours, Grow Hub strikes a $400 merger agreement, with Enchem. So I'll let 13 talk about that here in a little bit, since he did the prep on it. 3.32% of the float is shorted, 1 day to cover, float of 12.7 million. What do you have on this merger?
Oh, I didn't really bother to take too much of a look into the merger. this is I was more concerned about where the price actually said. I saw the trend line. I actually have two trend lines. If you back out a little bit, you can see that the day before actually gave us another point that we can draw upon.
So, I'm sorry, say that one more time.
If you back out a little bit, you can see that we had another point where we can use the trend line to draw upon. Unless there should be a high from the I think this is the pre-market. Yeah, the pre-market yesterday.
I see it. Okay, now did you connect it through the after hours high from yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Gotcha.
But I also trend line. But I also drew yours just to just for funsies to see what happens there. It is.
You had me at funsies 13. You had me at funsies. Done.
And so this company, the merger is probably the best timing for this company because they have almost no revenue, they have almost no cash, they're not profitable, and their balance sheet sucks. So I don't see really a whole lot to like about this company, but the fact that it's getting picked up is like getting a life raft thrown to it. The support that I was seeing is at 110, and the resistance is at VWAP, and we're trying to get through that right now. So if we do get through VWAP, the next resistance that I see is 135 before we start hitting trend lines.
Okay. All right. We'll see what we get there on TGHL. Love it. What else did you have on your list here? You said Ruby, right?
Last one I looked at was Ruby. Yeah.
Okay. How many times are we going to yell Ruby Rod from the Fifth Element today because of this one? I don't know. Ticker is RUBI. Stock is up 39% right now. This traded up towards 8.5 earlier. Rubico announces management estimate of a net asset value to 183.1 million. That marks a 94% increase from the previously reported net asset value. That last assessment, by the way, came on March 2nd. A quick peek here at the short interest. Actually don't have a reading on this, so I don't have a float reading on this. Way over the average volume. What do you have here? Ticker RUBI Ruby.
So this company this week has been having several things go on. One was that they're trying to get out of their yacht business. They are divesting their mega yacht stake to exit that, and they are acquiring Mr. Tinker New Building. They are wanting to be more into the tanker and transportation of energy. So that was one of the things that happened. And then of course we also have this movement here today, which was from the estimate of their net asset value to have a 94% increase from their previously reported one on March 2nd. That is what's sending it up here today. And the fact that it has 605,000 shares in the float makes it very easy to push around. This could be one of the ones that gets taken for a ride today. The company does have revenue, it does have some cash, and it is profitable. So this is operating nicely. The support that I had was down at 5. It looks like we did get that after trading beneath that level, but we recaptured it. VWAP is the next resistance. If we get through that, then I would say just because it's beneath $6 would be after that, and then we're in a territory where we have no closes this in pre-market. So I would just kind of lean on previous levels at that point. Maybe we could look at 7 and 8, but I don't have any levels beyond 6. So I'll have to look for some of those as we after the open here.
Okay, well, you know what? We can actually wait till this thing snaps the VWAP at 5.5. That's going to need to happen first before we look at anything here near 6. Okay, what else did you have? You have ATPC?
No, the only other ones that I was going to mention is V is still going strong here. VEEE. This is having some more upside movement here today after it gave a lot of it back yesterday. So just something to keep on your radar. It's been providing trades, all week. We may get another one today.
Okay. Yeah. This thing has been wild. Multi-day mover there. Really quickly, I just want to handle this here real quick. It looks like, I know we just mentioned happy hour and how great that was. Nothing Locutus is saying, how can I find that here? Derek, I appreciate you answering here. You watch for a bar at the bottom of the trading board around 350 to get the link. So really quickly, just to kind of go over this for anyone that's on the trial and wants to see what happy hour is about, or if you're already a subscriber and you haven't been around to happy hour. The bar at the bottom, what he's talking about is the info bar. So what that means is in the settings menu, you need to have this option checked on. Info bar needs to be on. This scrolling bar here at the bottom will turn like a teal or a light blue, and it will be clickable. That allows you to sign up for the Zoom call that we do the happy hour for. So again, that won't be visible. I try to make it about half hour. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I try to make it about a half hour before the close. Sometimes I don't get to it till about 15 minutes before the close. But within the last half hour of the New York trading session, be sure to pay attention to your bottom bar. You should see a clickable link down there. If you have it turned off, you'll have to turn it back on. Once you get signed up, the email invites should be continue coming to you. Okay, next one that I wanted to talk about here real quick was ATPC. This is a GAPE ATP. This did trade up in the after hours, traded up again here in the pre-market. There was some news with this one. If we take a look at this, where was that? Oh, okay, it's not here. They followed a Securities and Exchange Commission filing that disclosed a new stake held by a prop trading firm and liquidity provider, Jane Street. So that's the catalyst that's going with this one right now. Quick peek at the short interest on this name, 1.59% with 1 day to cover. The stock has a float of $1 million. On average, it trades 3.2 million. It's already traded 3.7. 13, I know this one wasn't on your list at all, but do you have anything from this chart by chance?
That news, is that outside of Pro that you're seeing?
No, this was part of the rundown here, the stocks in focus here today.
Okay, it's just that's not showing up for me here on the news feed for oh, maybe that's why, because I thought that you said ATRC is ATPC.
Yeah, ATPC looks like the 13G is here from the after hours yesterday.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad I got that right, because I would have given a wrong analysis.
That's probably my fault for talking too fast. I'm juggling a lot here this morning.
Let's take a look here, because I have to kind of zoom into this. So that means that we have seen some reverse splits in this name. We are at about 350 right now, which is interesting because that looks like that's a bit of a resistance area, former support and resistance, 350. So I would think that's probably going to need some more volume to work through. $4 also looks like a level. It seems maybe every 50 cents there's about a support and resistance level that begins to come into play. We look at a lot of these stocks, and we can pretty much identify like the increments that you get these support and resistance. I remember there was another stock the other day we were looking at. It was every $2 it ran into support and resistance. I think it might have been Victoria's Secret or something. I don't remember exactly which stock it was, but you tend to find these increments that they run into support and resistance levels at. For this one, it looks like it's every 50 cents. Look at, wouldn't you know it, down at $3 even, you have the 20 and the 50-day SMAs. So I think that's kind of what I would be looking at here with ATPC. Every 50 cents, whether in either direction, is a support and resistance area. So that means that right now, 350 is the one we're trying to work through right now. And if we get through that, $4 will be next.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff there. ATPC. Also, just want to highlight this. Barb, we appreciate stuff like this. We have a big team here that works very hard to try and create the best possible products for our community. Benzinga is hands down the best resource for any trader. It can be overwhelming at first, which I agree. That's true. I tell people to go through that learning curve. But once you get the hang of it, you will think you were blind before having it. Just my opinion. Barb, just FYI, how many years ago? So it was 5, so 11 years now. Wow. 2014 actually was when I first subscribed to Benzinga Pro. So that's nearly 12 years. I had the exact same realization that you did. I was like, wow, I was new to it. And I said to myself, I don't know. Once I kind of got used to it, I don't know how I did this without it. I would watch FinTwit. I would watch CNBC. Some things would be right. Some things wouldn't be. Some things would be delayed. Most things would be delayed. I don't know how I did it without this. I'm glad that you're having the same experience. I would ask you kindly, would you be interested in writing a testimonial for us? I can say how great Benzinga Pro is till I'm blue in the face, but it's that much better when actual users say the exact same thing. So let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in. And we, of course, appreciate the kind words.
Ruby just had a pop that took it over VWAP and ran up to a little bit over 6. Now it's coming back down under 6 right now. Don't know if that's the end of it, but we need to hold VWAP if we're going to get more as we approach the open.
Okay. All right. Did you have anything else on this list? Decent Holdings. This looks like this was a Chinese name. Yeah, this is went from what, 208 to 380, came all the way back in, lost the VWAP, can't close above it. Let's see if there was a news catalyst on this one. Nope, nothing fresh. Last piece of news here was actually from July 8th. So it looks like this is just kind of like a China pump going here. EHGO is Shalgo. This has been a recent mover that we've traded.
Hold on that last one. What was the float?
Oh, good call. Good call. Float under $1 million, sub-million float, just like 13. Let's go.
They're looking for those really small ones that they can just push around and take for a ride.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I think that's it here from the movers. Is there anything else that you want to cover, 13, or should we just go to the chat?
What does the chat want to look at?
Chat hasn't suggested any ticker. Oh, you know what? Marvell. Nikhil was asking for Lion's opinion on Marvell. I don't think Lion's here yet. We hope he's doing all right. But let's take a look at Marvell ourselves. 13, would you mind if I run to the washroom while you break this chart down like a fraction?
Sure. Yeah, I'll do what I can with this. It looks to me like we're at a support area, trying to hold above $200. We're 9 cents beneath it right now, but we haven't opened yet. I think that $200 area is going to be a spot to watch for here at the open. If we can hold that or not. Because if we lose it, then I think that the next real good support area is going to be down at 180. And this is all part of the semis being weak right now. So there's been rotation out of this sector. This is really down like almost 40%. Going down to 180 would be about 46%. Don't know how much lower this is going to go. Could still fall lower as long as this is out of favor. But I don't think this theme's finished. It's just going through a rotation period. It's getting out of favor for the time being, but I think it'll eventually come back. The AI theme is likely going to continue into the 2030s, and then it will probably become the quantum theme. But for now, let's just see if we can hold 200. I think that's the big support that we need to hold. I don't know if we're going to end up recapturing the 50-day SMA anytime soon. I don't know if we'll see that today, but next thing I would want to see is just some support around 200 and some bottoming start to happen. Because if we get that, then we potentially get a reversal. So I don't know if this is going to be finished down here at 200. It could, like I said, it could still go down to 180, maybe a little bit lower. But we just need to look for some bottoming. I don't have a guaranteed spot where this is going to settle at. Just also keep an eye on the RSI. It's not oversold yet, but it's getting there.
Okay, so maybe we're expecting a bounce here pretty soon. Let's see if we get to that 100 on Marvell. Okay, we have plenty of time here. I'm going to keep running down the stocks. Kathy was asking about IQST. Let's pull that up here real quick. Oh, and then also I wanted to remind all of you, I saw someone was asking about it. We do have an all access scheduled here today. Looks like we're going to be doing that in about 22 minutes. Producer, if I got that wrong, please correct me so I can alert the group. But we will be having a live all access here today. About 22 minutes from now. So that interview is coming. Now, Kathy, you had asked IQST ? So this looks like really low price stock here. I guess IQ Stel shares are trading higher after the company reported a year-over-year increase in H1 preliminary new revenue results. So it looks like the first half of the year, better revenue from them. Preliminary revenue of $207 million. That's actually up 59% year over year. So definitely, or at least sounds like a good piece of news here. Probably want to go through the PR and make sure that there's nothing hiding in there. 11.47% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. Float on this name, 6.69 million, and it is way above its average volume. On average, trades 2.6 million shares. We've done 56 million here today. This is likely to be in play. Here's what the 5-minute chart looks like. I'll throw the VWAP on there. We basically rode it up. We cracked the VWAP, and we've been unable to get back above that. So as one of the first things I'd like to see, let's see what kind of resistance we have there at 120. Let's see if we're able to actually move through that and then go for that pre-market high. I've got that up here, 138. 13, I know you didn't prepare for this one and it wasn't on your list, but do you have any thoughts here on IQST?
Do you have any fair value gaps underneath 110?
I do. I have a fair value gap from right here to right here, and that is a bullish fair value gap. So we'll color that green for you. Here is your gap. It is still unmitigated.
So we could lose this 110 support there in order to get down and get it from that gap.
Yeah, well, yes, and this looks at about $1. Top end of the gap looks to be about $1. Bottom end of the gap is about 91 cents.
So I guess that's what I'd be looking at here. If we lose 110, then we're probably going to go down to $1 and try to lean on that fair value gap. But if we break through VWAP, then we're going to want to look towards 130 resistance.
Okay, and producer, did we get that poll up? Let me know if we got that poll up because yes. Okay. Please vote in our poll. Please vote in our poll. I actually love this one. I cannot wait for the results of this. Which investor would you trust the most to manage your investment account entirely? Mark Cuban, Kathy Wood, Kevin O'Leary, or Jim Cramer? I cannot wait for the results of this poll. Please, everybody, vote in our poll. 13, even if you get a chance, please vote. You did already? You're awesome, dude. I appreciate that. I will read the results as soon as we get those. This is a exciting poll question from one of our top writers here, Chris. So very, very intrigued on that. Thank you, producer, for taking care of that. And thank you, 13, for voting. Like I said, I had a lot going on here this morning, so I appreciate all of the help from you folks. This has been great. All right. Anything else you want to take a look at? How much time do we have? 4 minutes? We should be good.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on these movers. RUBI still holding above that VWAP for now. TGHL trying to get through its VWAP. And what else were you looking at here? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I have another stock for us to look at, but you can finish the breakdown there.
Well, there's one from yesterday that's on the move right now. ERNA or Nexa. That's putting in a pre-market high right now. This one popped in the morning and just absolutely gave everything back and went sideways, and now we're starting to recover. And it looks like around 820, 825 is going to be one of the next big areas of resistance.
Yep, I see that clear as day from yesterday's chart. Good mention here, ERNA. And we've seen that on some of these junky ones where that first day you get kind of a crappy move, then it bases, and then the day after you might get a follow-up move on that. ERNA might actually fit that quite nicely. Okay, one of the other stocks that was requested by the chat was IREN. I think this was from Chris. Chris wanted to take a look at IREN. So we've actually looked at this a bit recently. Again, smoke here. Crazy. Sorry about that. IREN sure seems to be kind of riding this trend line down. This is not yet oversold, although we are kind of approaching that. We're a little bit extended away from the 200-day moving average, and most notably, we broke this recent support from July 2nd. So to me, at least going with the trend line here, I would expect some support in a 34 handle down here. It really hasn't snapped this yet. I think if it does break that, you're probably looking at $30 as the round number there. 13. Do you see? Well, you know what else I see here on the chart?
What's that?
Well, I got to find the right tool here. I see a Head and Shoulders right here.
Oh yeah.
And this makes me wonder if we're still kind of playing this out. Your neckline would probably be something like this. Oops, wrong tool. Neckline would be probably something right in here about $47. So it sure looks like we're having a resolution of a head and shoulders breakdown here. What do you think, 13?
If we do get a resolution of that, then it looks like we could go down into the low 20s, like a full resolution. But I was just looking on a monthly chart, and I kind of like where that 20-month SMA is. It's just above 30, like at $31. And that seems like a good area of support based on some previous price action from, the past months in this year, like April and March. So I would think 30 is the spot that this could end up falling down to. And if it does, it's going to get some support from that 20-day SMA. It just looks like this is going to continue lower. And if it does, I think that's where it's headed, $30.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff there on IREN.
We're open, and Ruby is starting to push.
All right. Let me flip over to my main workspace. About 15 minutes till that all access, FYI.
ERNA just blasted off right into the open there. Ruby is still pushing higher, trying to get to 7. TGHL is also trying to hit that first trend line that you drew. The longer one that I had you draw, that's going to be we'll call that our secondary trend line. That's going to, if we get through the first one, I think that we'll see the second one. That's all at the moment. See what this market gives us.
Yeah, and really quickly, here are those two trend lines. And 13, to your point, we are approaching that here. So if we break this, maybe we do go up to that second one. We'll see there. TGHL.
Ruby pulled after going up to 670.
ATAI looks kind of non-eventful here at 710. That's one of the mergers. We kind of expected that. Here's Ruby again.
That one, Ruby's coming in, but TGHL is pushing up now. Going through that first trend line, the one that you drew, making its way up to my trend line.
And we just told you if it goes through that first one, we will probably hit that second one there. Yep. Let's see, 142 stopping it right now.
Yeah, this 145 area was resistance in the pre-market here, so just need a little bit more volume to take us up to that trend line there, and then we might get a reversal.
Sorry, go ahead. Finish up.
I was just saying, there it is. It just popped up there. I think it may have just barely hit the trend line, but we just got a pop up to that level.
Okay, and I'm sorry that I got distracted, but I saw an interesting put sweep here. This is going to be Microsoft, ticker MSFT, 320 puts that expire March 19th of next year. All right, so March expiry of next year, trader bought 295 contracts out of the money puts, spent $427,000 on that trade. Microsoft pulling right out of the open here. Bearish bets via the options market on Microsoft. Uber, this is ripping straight out of the gate here. This is above yesterday's intraday high. I saw Dari Koshwahari on CNBC this morning, but I had it muted because I was preparing for the show. He says that the $14.8 billion delivery hero deal will double Uber's mobility and delivery markets. That's the Chinese one, right? Delivery Hero, if I recall correctly. Pretty sure that's the case.
ERNA, after that run into the open, it is pulling everything. Ruby is halted to the downside after hitting 670. I'm sorry, 669. TGHL went to our both trend lines and has come back down. IQST, that also popped over VWAP. That's weakening. And V, finally, that went up to almost a 39. That's pulling as well. So pops out the gates, pulls thereafter. I'm waiting.
Delivery Hero is a Germany-based delivery and logistics company. I apologize. Okay. All right, let's see what else we have.
We have a lot of pop and drops is what we have.
Yeah, in fact, we had that on V. That's exactly right, 13. You popped right back up towards that pre-market high and immediately pulled back. We also saw the exact same thing on the SPY, by the way. So as soon as the market opened, SPY looked like it tried to trade up, but this is pulling back down to the 9 EMA here. 752.51 is your spot there.
Yeah, it looks like out of all those we were looking at, really just TGHL is the one that's putting in the best price action right now. But it's not able to get past our trend line just yet, even though it's coming up to challenge it. SpaceX is pumping. Let's see here. Let's see what we got. Got nice volume candle out of the gate there.
And a recapture of the 135, most notably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see if there's any news tied to this. I don't see anything, recently since the market opened. Just a Piper Sandler coverage with price target.
SPY continuing to pull now. We're now through that 9 EMA. Chris, good morning. Chris and Kathy both mentioning Abbott Labs, ticker ABT. That is flying here. Indeed, up 10+% out of the gate here. Abbott, ABT has given up its prior loss. Abbott Laboratory shares were trading lower after the company reported better than expected Q2 financial results and raised its fiscal 26 adjusted EPS guide. This thing looks like it's about to test 100 here.
This is the one that's on both sides, or I want to say kind of like all sides of the GLP-1 theme, because they make devices that are used for testing. They make nutritional supplements for wasting. And there was one other angle as well, but those two were really important because they were, you got to test if you're going to be taking GLP-1s, and those don't differentiate between fat and muscle. So wasting has been an issue, and this company makes Ensure supplemental nutrition drinks. It's a great angle for this company with the whole weight loss thing, because they've got products for testing and for wasting. And then yes, MDT, that's one I own. Another medical device company. Medical device companies I like because that's one of the ones, one of the angles in the medical field where you're going to see AI thrive. So medical devices.
And it looks like MDT probably put in a bottom here. We really kind of sold off here, started to curl back up. Lion, good morning. It's good to see you. Lion mentioning that Las Vegas Sands, ticker LVS, breaking out from a support level. So I think this is what Lion's talking about. We got that right about 46. I think we'd actually want a 46 recapture there, Lion. But I think this is the support level that you're talking about. This was also a previous resistance level. So this area that we're at is definitely key. And you're right, 52-week low. Lion, good spot there. Lion woke up firing here. I got it. I love it.
Let's see here.
Jay Rice, SpaceX, since the IPO, now 181 million short, minus 28% of the float. They have a launch tonight. 13 told us about that launch, less than 10 hours. Jay, perhaps more importantly, who's going to win the open here? How good does Scotty look this morning?
Scotty doesn't know. That Fiona and me. Anyway, that was probably one of the greatest Matt Damon cameos ever.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Look at TGHL, dude.
Yeah, it's trying to get through that trend line.
It did the thing that we said it was.
Yeah, it's trying to get through that trend line. So if we get through this trend line, 169 is going to be your next resistance level, I think. Maybe 160, 169. There's a couple of spots right there. We're getting through the trend line right now.
Okay, TGHL, you know what? Registering at this point, because the plan ended up working here, went right to some of the levels that we had identified. Bang.
Yep. And we just barely ticked that 169. So I wouldn't be surprised if this pulled back a little bit and tried to search out some support before making the next move higher, because this just went right to that after hours high yesterday.
And IQST, which was mentioned in the chat here by Kath, this actually went through its VWAP. We'll see if it can actually build above and then maybe make a move towards the pre-market high. That did recapture its VWAP on volume too. Yeah.
So, looks like we barely did get a higher print than that after hours high. So 170 is the high in TGHL, pulling back a little bit. If we pull back down to under 160, I would want to see the trend line that we drew act as support.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Looks like ERNA after that big sell is trying to get back above VWAP. Don't know how great that's going to be. Ruby halted to the downside again. IQST, that's over its VWAP, still trying to push higher. Resistance is up at 130 and 136. V all over the place, up and down, kind of like how you would draw a V. It's just been up and down. Maybe it goes up again.
Be careful with this one. We talked about this yesterday. I would extend the same warning here today. Just be careful with this one.
Yep. Test saying Jack fill in the squeeze. Jack in the box. Let's see here. So that's got a high short interest. 5 days to cover. This is a squeeze candidate.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, it's wow. That's a lot of wicked price action happening there. Just a couple of spinning tops on this 5-minute chart since we opened. Going up to 16, coming right back in. I don't know what to really make of this price action right now. It seems a little thin. How's Wendy's doing? Wendy's up as well. That's another short squeeze candidate. That one looks like the price action's a little bit sturdier. So if we do hold this like 150s, I'm sorry, 750s, there may be some more upside here in Wendy's.
Okay. SPY traded down to 252. We're actually getting a bounce right here. No signal on the 0 DTE indicator, but it does look like we're trying to bounce here. And if we do get a signal here, I'd be targeting the 753 call for the day, but nothing yet. Actually, we might revisit some of those lows. We'll see.
GIS, not a bad name to bring up. This is funny because Anne-Marie was on earlier this week.
I loved it.
You like that serial seller? I thought that was great. But
Anne-Marie said she's a serial seller of premium. And then 13 said, well, GIS also sells cereal.
There's also a serial seller. But yeah, so here we go with a nice move over the resistance area that was getting on Wednesday during the regular session. That was up around 37.50. Hit resistance, came back in, started trading up in the pre-market, and then we broke through that at the open here. So here we are with a breakout in GIS. Let me look at a daily chart here. And this is, we are now at March levels. So very nice recovery in GIS. A lot of the consumer-facing names like this, the food names, I think are set to perform pretty well. Dividend yield, yeah, that's up there. Although it's was much better when it was a lower price. I don't unfortunately own this, but I do have Kraft Heinz. That's the one I decided to go with for the consumer-facing food name.
All right, GIS, we'll see if this breakout can continue. Lion mentioning WDC, that's going to be Western Digital, one of our memory names here. Lion saying that this is at a great support at 487. It's actually beneath that now. Make or break here. Let me ask you, Lion, is it just WDC that you feel like is make or break, or would you extend that to some of the other memory names like Micron and SanDisk?
I think I would lean on the weekly chart. That 20-week SMA has not been snapped in this entire rally for WDC, and it's probably the same for the others. Since April of last year, this thing has just been on an upward trajectory, and we have not closed underneath that 20-week SMA since May of last year.
Okay, so 446 that value, by the way.
Yes, I think because of the way the 450 looks and the fact that you have the 20-week SMA in that vicinity, I'd be looking at the price maybe coming down and looking for support at 450. It likely will trade underneath that, but we're looking for closes. So if we get a close at or above 450 this week, I think that we're getting indications of support.
Okay. All right, and then really quickly, that was WDC. Let me very quickly check the weekly chart for Micron. Oops, that's Macy's. That's not what I wanted. Here's Micron. We're a ways away, 170 points away from that 20-day moving average on Micron. And then on SanDisk, let's take a quick look at that as well. We're actually closer to that. We are still, 180-ish points away. But on a percentage basis, that's actually closer than Micron is.
And Micron, back in March earlier this year, used the 20-week SMA as support. And after that support, it launched this thing. It launched it. You just got to look at the Micron on a weekly. Just look at that 20-week SMA. When we were going sideways, using 360 as support, we dipped beneath it, hit the 20, and then we took off.
That was a SpaceX style launch right there, straight up into the atmosphere on that one. But we're just going to tie it all together. That's what we're going to do here today.
Now, when it comes to Micron, I don't know that this is going to go all the way down to the 20-week. It probably will, but I think that you're going to see support happen at 800 before we get to the 20-week.
Okay. All right, 13. We're going to go ahead and move over to our live all access here. So I'm going to put you in the back just a couple of minutes. We are going to be coming right back here, folks. So be sure to join us as soon as we finish. But 13, we'll see you in a couple of minutes here.
Sounds good.
Sorry, producer. I know we're fighting it there. All right, folks. We are happy to welcome our special guest, CEO and founder of Immersed, Renji Bijoy. Immersed empowers users all around the world to immerse themselves and others into a portable, distraction-free workspace, giving them deeper focus and increased productivity. As a reminder, this is a sponsored interview. All access starts right now. Good morning and welcome to the show, Renji. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing well. Look, it's great to have you here. Let me just dive right into it. We hear so much that VR is dead and that it will never really took off, but the use cases seem to be growing, especially when it comes to work. Why is there such a disconnect, and what is going on in the industry, and what role is Immersed playing in advancing VR and augmented reality?
Yeah, I think historically, Meta and all the other tech giants who've been dabbling in AR, VR, mainly focused on gaming, competing with Xbox and PlayStation. Right. For me, that's not a need to have use case. What I need to have is my multiple screens anywhere I go. So if I could take my, call it glasses with my laptop and have multiple screens, day trading all day, every day, whatever I'm doing, it's going to ultimately be a better use case and just something that actually is a need to have.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. And look, I've said this for a long time. As a trader, it feels like screen real estate is one of the best things that we can have. I've actually tried some of those other devices that clip onto the laptop and expand your screen like that. I'll be quite honest with you, I don't love it. And part of me worries that attaching all that weight to the laptop screen actually might provide some long-term damage to that. So I love the idea here about the glasses. To me, that really tracks. I would use something like that.
Yeah. Like the prominent use case that people use the Apple Vision Pro for example, is connecting to their MacBook and having multiple virtual screens. The problem is the Apple Vision Pro, it costs $4,000 after taxes and it weighs 2 pounds on your head, as opposed to our Visor headset, which is about 6 ounces and costs about $1,000. It's not a gaming device. It's just a work device with multiple screens anywhere you go.
Yeah, this is absolutely fabulous that you're attacking this market, because when the Apple Vision Pro first came out, me and my co-host discussed it at length. And one of the things that we said is that it's awkward to wear this heavy thing. You can't really walk around with it. It looks really weird. It's very, very expensive. Looks like you've solved 2 of those problems here.
Yeah. And that's something that we've been waiting for the tech giants to solve for the past 9 years of our existence. I remember when we first founded the company, Zuckerberg would say by 2020, everyone's gonna be using glasses instead of their smartphones. Fast forward to 2026, that's still not the case. And so we now have partnered with Qualcomm and some of these other tech giants to release Visor. We're now scaling to mass production later this year. I'm super excited about it. And now we feel like finally glasses is something that everyday people can now use.
Yeah, that's absolutely phenomenal. All right, let me keep going here. For most retail investors, gaining exposure to companies applying cutting-edge technology in artificial intelligence and spatial computing to boost productivity means paying top dollar. But Immersed changes that, as we just kind of discussed there. What access does Immersed provide investors?
Yeah, if you go to our website, immerse.com or advisor.com, you can click invest now, and allows all of our friends and family, our users, anyone who's been following our progress to be able to buy shares in the company today. So it's not just rich VCs who will get richer from our early investors, but it's also everyone who really uses the products, really loves this vision, especially as we head, Lord willing, someday towards an IPO.
Okay, absolutely amazing. Now, you talked about this a little bit, but can you dive a little bit deeper here? Can you tell us about Immersed's business model, technology, and sales? What do you offer enterprise and business customers that rivals can't provide? And I guess, simply put, what makes the company stand out?
Yeah. So we used to be just a software app on the MetaQuest store. We have 1.5 million users on that side of things. Now we want to bring this to everyday people. We're stuck in the single-digit million user count sort of order of magnitude. We want to get to tens of millions of users, which is why now we've built our own hardware in partnership with Qualcomm. And moving forward, we want these companies to be able to also administrate collaboration across their employees. And so we have users in the entire Fortune 500. As soon as Visor comes out later this year, we're going to email blast it, and everyone's going to know that this is the type of device you would use for work. Individuals can purchase the headset and just have your multiple screen solo experience, but remote teams can now have people who put on this pair of glasses, so to speak, and teleport into the virtual office. You'll have all of your screens around everyone's desk clumps. You'll have your coworkers in there. You'll have whiteboards in there. It's quite literally putting on a pair of glasses and teleporting to the virtual office. For these Fortune 500 companies, we'll be able to obviously administrate collaboration, and give them any sort of support that they need in order to make sure that the virtual office really becomes their total work solution.
Okay, that I think that's going to be really important, because if you're going to rely on a virtual office, it needs to work. You need to be able to get through any problems there. It sounds like you guys have thought about that ahead of time.
Well, also, I think what's really important is Meta and Apple and others, they're going to keep focusing on gaming and entertainment. We want to focus on the work use case. So we want to be a spatial computing kind of next device after laptops and smartphones type of company that's focused on other companies who need support.
Okay, I'll tell you what, my 2 cents early here is that that's the right choice.
Yeah.
Instead of competing against companies like Meta, you're partnering with them. Can you tell us about your deals with the likes of Meta, Samsung, and Qualcomm?
Yeah, so Google, Samsung, Meta, and others have actually paid our team to bring our work remote solution software to their stores. And that's where we've acquired a lot of user usage. We're the only app that people have spent 40, 50, 60 hours a week, every week in headsets. When it comes to the gaming apps, you'll maybe play a game for 10 or 15 minutes, put it down, never pick it back up. But you need to do work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, every week. And so that's why all these tech giants pay us to bring our software to their ecosystem. However, the biggest complaint we get from these enterprise customers, for example, is that the headsets are too heavy. So now that we're bringing Visor to market, anyone can choose whatever device they want. Even if you have, call it an Apple Vision Pro, I have a Visor, our friend has a Quest, we could still enter the Immerse software app and be able to be in the same uniform experience regardless.
That is such a good idea. You guys really seem to be doing this correct. Let me what's next for Immersed? How has business been going this year, and where is it headed for the remainder of 2026 and beyond? And what are some major trends coming down the road for the future of work and, of course, Immersed?
Yeah, so we've been approved by the SEC to open up our Regulation A+ crowdfund. So we're about almost just over halfway through that entire raise. We're actually closing at the end of this month. Then later this year, we're opening up a much larger Reg A+. We're bringing Visor to mass production, Visor 1. We are working on future generations of devices. We look at Visor as sort of the stationary work setup, your immersive sort of setup. We do want to someday get into glasses as well for on the go. So think about it as Visor is a laptop companion. And then if we work on glasses someday, that's almost like a smartphone companion. So we do want to bring AI into the physical world, because these devices actually have cameras on it. And so now think about the fact that ChatGPT, you don't have to just text it. Now, actually, AI can live life with you. So moving forward, this is the reason why even OpenAI and Meta and others behind the scenes are working on these sort of glasses form factor. It gives AI the first-person perspective that you do. And ultimately, that's something that actually gives you much more capability than what's available via the chat interface.
Okay. Now, I got 2 really quick questions here. Number one of the things that I've heard about any type of virtual or augmented reality headset is that depending on the person, they might develop a headache, or it might be hard to see. Have you experienced or heard anything about that? And if so, how are you solving that?
Yeah, I think back in 2019, 2020 is the last time I've heard that. Meta and others have actually done a great job in getting the latency. Let me take a step back. The reason why anyone gets nausea at all is because whenever they move their head, the screen refresh rate, it doesn't refresh the way I should be seeing fast enough. And so it's almost like a lag, like a delay. But that's like a 2020 problem. It's 5 or 6 years old of a problem. Fast forward to today, that's not really an issue, unless you're talking about low resolution. So the Visor headset is 4K per eye. This headset's actually 2 million more pixels than the Apple Vision Pro, which is the most premium device on the market today. And the MetaQuest ecosystem is about 1/4 of the pixels that's available here. So if you have any nausea today on MetaQuest headsets, for example, it's likely because the resolution is too low.
That is extremely interesting and good to hear that that is a solved problem. Now, the last question here, I know this is a little bit off topic. I know you're trying to focus here on work, but a lot of different work environments, they have a lot of people in there that end up golfing. And there's a lot of business deals consummated on a golf course. I play golf myself. I just have to ask you, is there any potential future prospect where you can get some type of TrackMan where you can follow the ball by using your Visor product? Because I'd throw
100%.
money at you for that.
Yeah. One of my friends, Ryan Engel, he's the founder of Golf Plus. He's a good friend of mine. He also lives in Austin, Texas, where we're headquartered as well. He's a friend that we want to partner with longer term. There's a lot of overlap. You'd be surprised at people who want to have premium work solutions and people who golf. So obviously that's something that is going to be a really awesome partnership in the future. I think for us, the fact that we've been in this space for quite a while and have figured out the use cases that people actually use in VR, and call it maybe more mixed reality. VR is not really the main thing because this has cameras on it. It actually brings the physical world into the headset. So it almost looks like you're wearing like a pair of glasses. You can almost like put the headset on and see your hand continuously all the way across. Moving forward, we do want to make sure that the types of devices that we build is for everyday people. So if you want to use it for like a golf use case or something else, that's something that we do want to be able to support.
Okay, I got to be honest with you. I think this is so cool. I'm definitely kind of a tech nerd. I like to live my life on the bleeding edge of technology here. This sounds absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Renji. I look forward to follow-ups from you, okay?
Yeah, thanks for hosting.
Yep, no problem. Folks, that was Renji Bejoy, CEO and founder of Immersed. Join us next time for another All Access. Okay, 13's back. 13. I'm really excited for that. I think that is super cool. I've been waiting for that since we started talking about some of these smart glasses and everything. Sounds like they're actually doing it right there. And I know you and I have had discussions about the Apple Vision Pro before. So really cool. Really cool. I hope you folks enjoyed that.
I was surprised that he brought the Vision Pro up because I thought that was kind of abandoned. I didn't think people really wanted to use it. Because it was so expensive and was cumbersome.
Yeah, and it looks like those problems have been solved. So really cool stuff. Okay, 13, help me out because I was focused on all of that. What did I miss while we were gone there? Looks like Apple, which was selling off, is bouncing. Big Mama's doing it again. Yes, it is. Another new all-time high here for Apple, 330 on this. Woo.
Looks like out of all the movers, the one that's seeing the upside right now is V. That's continuing its move up. We're coming up to some resistance around 42 and a half. 40 looks like 44.75 might be next after that, and then 47. So those are next upside levels there for V. We'll see how many get hit. Meanwhile, you have IQST, that's underneath its VWAP. TGHL, that lost one of our trend lines, is trying to hold above the other one, and VWAP. And then Ruby, this gave everything back, and now I think this is in the fair value area that we talked about.
For IQST?
For Ruby.
Oh, Ruby, excuse me. Let me go over to that. I was a little bit slow on the change there. Here is Ruby. Let me see what we got. The one that we took a look at earlier was on IQST. This did, in fact, so the fair value gap was, I'll draw it on here. That'll just make it so much easier than me trying to explain it. Let me just do that real quick. Fair value gap was right in here. We are in it. So yeah. we need to see a bounce. You're absolutely right. We need to see a bounce right now from this area. This also does line up with the 65 EMA. So maybe that will help get a bounce here.
Let's see. Selena saying GLW at the lows into oversold levels. ZBH is up 4%. Also makes medical implants, knees, hips, etc. I wonder how X-ray is doing since we're seeing medical devices do well. These are dental devices.
X-ray is higher today.
Yeah, that's up. And actually, X-ray looks like this is running into oversold territory, or it's in oversold territory. I wouldn't be surprised if X-ray at one point, maybe this week or next week, came back in a little bit, kind of cooled off. It doesn't. I don't think it has to do with much. So maybe it goes down a dollar or so from here. But this is getting pretty extended here, and I think that this needs to cool off before it can go higher.
Okay, here's what that chart looks like on X-ray. Really good point. This has had a really nice move recently, and I think that this 14 area might provide some support there. Oh, excuse me, might have some resistance there. I'm trying to do too many things at once.
As we're talking about PayPal and the potential buyout, this is, let me just get this news up here because I'm pretty sure this was a proposal to buy them out. Yes. Stripe and Advent International reportedly propose a joint acquisition.
And when we talked about that yesterday, I think the price was 60.50. You have to double check me on that. But when we talked about this yesterday, we mentioned that this wasn't a done deal. And, maybe this might start some type of like bidding war that drives the price even higher. PayPal looking good here at 56. This actually looks like it wants to go higher today.
Well, it is back above the 200-day SMA as a result of that news. So we're holding there, running into a resistance area at 57. So the next two resistance areas that I have on the PayPal chart is going to be 57 and 60. With the RSI up here beyond 80 right now, I'm thinking that there's going to have to, be some selling because this is pretty extended. So it could still go up more, but I don't think I'd be a buyer up here.
No, I think you're right. 13, looking at this 58 or 56, maybe 57 area. This actually does look like previous resistance and maybe support up there. 57, 58, a key level here on PayPal. Really quick, just going through the list here. Buffalo by Bicycle talking about Corning, that's ticker GLW. You want to talk about a stock that had a ramp, that had a big pullback. Corning here, this is insane. Like, let me see what the pullback, let me actually measure this and give you some real numbers here instead of just estimating. Corning, the pullback from the all-time high, 40%. And that all-time high was put in on, June 30th. So in 2 weeks, this stock has pulled back 40%. And so it looks like Buffalo by Bicycle, you're trying to add it down here. You have this was a previous resistance and support level. So it's at a level here at 160.
It may end up going
12 days from now, Tuesday before the market opens. Sorry, 13.
It may end up going all the way down to the 200-day SMA.
What value do you have for that? I don't have that on this chart.
130,
131.85. Okay, wow. So that puts us right. That was also a consolidation area. You might be right about that, 13.
And I think that's possible because when I look at other time frames like the weekly, how I've been talking about the 20-week SMA with those other names, we're losing the 20-week SMA for GLW this week, and we have not closed underneath that moving average since May of last year. So I think that's pretty significant. I think this indicates that there's potentially some more downside coming for GLW.
By the way, speaking of downside, Ruby is halted to the downside. It is still in that fair value gap, but it is near the bottom of this. No indication where this thing is going to go here. That halt, by the way, came at 9:58.34, so we'd be looking at an unhalt time there of 10:03.34. That's 2 minutes away.
And to what Jay is saying here, look at this rotation. Some unloved companies getting rotated into Crocs, Target, Abercrombie and Fitch. I don't remember what PII is, but transports are on fire after the JB Hunt earnings report, and that's true. The transport that I own, that I took a position in because it was pretty good value, was the train transport, UNP.
Union Pacific. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So the ones that I, for this rotation, ones that I mentioned a couple that I took positions for earlier. Ben and Tyson for a long time. That's another one I like. UNP was another one, but I've also took positions in Clorox, the Kraft Heinz company, and Kimberly Clark were other ones that I was getting into, in addition to Dollar General. But that's one I've been talking about for a while. But those are the other ones that I took positions in because they were looking pretty attractively priced. That
Dollar General almost feels like a core position for you. You've done such a good job trading that over so many different lengths. By the way, real quick, folks, SPY is turning up here. We actually did move through the VWAP. I'm a little late on these, so I wouldn't necessarily act on this, but I do have two buy signals here from the 0 DTE indicator. They did come a little bit ago, so they might be a bit stale, but SPY here looking like it's trying to push, trying to reverse. The NASDAQ, same deal.
IQST just had a big move through VWAP. It took it all the way to the pre-market highs. I don't know what else we're going to get out of IQST, but it went right to the resistance we were looking for earlier. So there's that. I like I said, don't know how much what else is happening with this. If we go higher, let's take a look and see if I can identify some other levels here. We traded this one when it was back in the twos. So right now we're getting resistance from the 65 EMA on the daily chart. And if we go higher than that, looks to me like 150 is going to be the next big resistance area.
By the way, Ruby is open and now through the bottom of the fair value gap. Nasty move lower here, RUBI.
All right. And then all I can hear now is Ruby Rod with his high-pitched scream.
Ruby Rod.
No, when he screams at the explosion.
Oh, yeah. No, we don't need to imitate that.
I don't plan to. I could not hit that note.
I feel you on that.
All right. So let's see here. TGHL, that one's underneath the UF. That also looks like that's coming in.
Look at Lucid. Lucid moving higher after that defense from the buyout, the take private, and bankruptcy rumors. Not only did it regain everything, it's actually about $1 higher here now. No, I just cost 75 cents. Joe, I appreciate that. Goodbye, Ruby Thursday. Beatles reference modified for situation. Can't go wrong.
I'd say that let's see what happens with Lucid once it gets up to 7. That seems to be where the area where it runs into resistance, and it's been the case since April earlier this year. After losing 7, it's been 1, 2, 3, 4 times it's tried to get back above that handle, and it has failed each time.
Really quick here, Eric, this is a good question. Do we think the prisoner release from Iran sets the stage for future negotiations? Seems like a show of good faith. So I haven't actually looked into this, but on the surface, just kind of knee-jerk reaction, I would say yes, probably. Remember, we heard from Trump that despite the strikes, he still wanted to negotiate. So perhaps this is the first leg of that, Eric. That's not a bad thought. I don't know for sure, but I see where the thought process goes, and I think it's sound.
I haven't read that, so I don't have an opinion on it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm just trying to react to it because that seems like that would be important. Okay, by the way, SPY continues to bounce here. S&P futures have now crossed the VWAP. So we want to have a closing candle above the VWAP. We want to hold above this VWAP, but so far, so good. SPY seems to be trading up. I got another buy indicator on the 0 DTE signal there and no sells yet. So that looks, I'm not in it. Didn't take this one, just busy with the interviews here, but SPY looks like it's bouncing.
Let's take a look at SPY.
Yeah, here's what the chart looks like. So we basically found resistance at the 200 EMA to the upside there. Oh, Mick Jagger was watching the England game yesterday. I saw a lot of clips of David Beckham in the stands, but I didn't see Mick Jagger.
I'd like to see SPY hold 750. It's 2 days now we've gone down just underneath that level and immediately reversed. So thinking 750, if we continue to hold above that, we're going to eventually break through that 755 level that has been resistance for a month or so now.
And I did just get a SPY sell signal. This is the first one. It's a partial trim right up here into that, let's call it a 753 area. Oh, so I'll tell you what, the indicator seems to be working better today than it did yesterday. Or maybe I should say that the market is cooperating a little bit better.
Okay, looks like some things are turning around here, but because of the low volume and lack of participation, we're not seeing these massive runs.
ATAI, this is the one that we talked about, the merger. It's really done nothing. So we were kind of right on that to maybe just wait this one out. It doesn't seem to have done a whole lot.
That's a great point, Crimp Biscuit. And I haven't read any news about this prisoner release or anything, but that's an interesting point. It might be.
And that I think would be universally good too.
Yes.
Yep. So keep it simple for me. Got it. I see SPY hitting 759 today. SPY is currently at 753. We get a move to 759. That would be great. That also would break the high, the 755 and change high that we talked about earlier. That would be a very constructive move. I don't know if I see that happening, but interesting nonetheless.
What's gonna do that for us? Like there's gonna have to be some kind of catalyst that takes us up that many handles in a single day in SPY.
Yeah, I would say, what can you attach to that would cause that move? That's a good thought there, 13. By the way, the SPY or S&P futures continue to push through that VWAP. So again, we'll see if we can hold this here. This 15-minute candle expires in 6 minutes. Looking around at some other stuff here. Apple pulled back from the new all-time high of 331.41. That's still holding up there at 328. That is looking good.
It really is interesting, Joe. About they did have a sweet deal with the MOU, but it was an MOU nonetheless. Nothing was binding. I think what it comes down to is that the IRGC and the Iranian government leadership, being two different separate entities. They're not necessarily working together to make this the deal happen. I'm sure the leadership would want it to happen, but the IRGC doesn't. So it's a conflict of power here inside Iran.
More strength from the SPY, folks. I don't see any headline that I can attribute to this move higher. Let me just do another quick look here just to make sure I'm not missing anything. I see also seeing a Bloomberg headline here. Apple readies OLED iPad mini with low end and Air updates coming in 2027. Yeah, I don't see anything I can necessarily attribute to this move higher here in SPY, but this is great. Look at this. Continued strength here, 753.50 now. Geo, was 753.50, was that one of the key levels that we were looking at yesterday?
By the way, that those screens that you just mentioned for Apple, LG and Samsung make them.
Ah, that's good insight.
Well, I mean, I talk about this a lot in happy hour.
Yeah, you do.
We talk, we say, Apple's this, Apple's that. I'm like, guys,
Samsung makes like 20+% of the parts or something.
25 to 30% of the parts inside an iPhone are Samsung parts.
Yeah, Eric, I saw that JD was on Joe Rogan yesterday. I will probably start that pod today. Not terribly relevant, okay, but maybe it is regarding the midterms. We'll see. IWM is quietly strong too. Lots of small banks in that.
So what's the KRE look like? That's actually up. That's up
2%.
Yeah. So what is happening here? Because we were looking at banks and we were kind of liking banks, but the regional banks, something's.
You know what else is interesting about that is that Goldman Sachs, after its really good earnings, that pulled back here today. Now it's since bouncing, but KRE here, this was pretty much straight up out of the open.
Yeah, and man, ever since this had that big downturn from the Russia-Ukraine war. This bottomed in April of 23, and this thing has been just great ever since. But we are approaching the all-time high in KRE. So I guess now I'm wondering, do we, fly past that, or do we find resistance there and come back into, let's say, a previous area of support like 70 or 75?
All right, I'm just going to scroll through my scanner list here. TGHL. I got golf on the brain. TGL. Wake up, Ryan. TGHL. This went right through our trend lines. Look what it did. Came back, held the VWAP, and I think this was
that was originally yours. Yeah.
Okay, so this came back and held this trend line. Watch it again. Maybe we get another move through that, or that is at minimum a resistance area.
I failed to mention this one because this is another one that I added recently, but TSCO is another one that I've been picking up because I liked this sideways price action it's been putting in since May. I feel like this is, essentially of a bottoming we're here. So I started a position in this. We'll see what happens with that. But I like the consolidation bottoming that this was in. And when you look to the left of where this is getting support from, it's a pretty good, back in 2020, this is a pretty good spot of that support. So I think I like the area that I got into TSCO here. I think the next thing I'm going to be watching for here, and we're kind of getting it today, is a recapture of that 50-day SMA. We need to see multiple closes above that 50-day SMA, because the last time that happened on July 1st, we did have a close above it. The very next day, we also had a close above it, but it was an engulfing candle, a bearish engulfing candle, and we went back down. So need to see at least 3 days closed above the 50-day SMA here for TSCO. I'll feel much more confident about upside when we get that.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff there, TSCO. And I agree with that spot. This looks like a great spot for TSCO.
Yeah.
G-Man, SPY back to 753.31. So that was the level, 753.31. I was off by 19 cents. Sorry.
ABT up 11%. Is it up 11% now?
It was ripping earlier.
Oh, it was. It's up 12%. I've got a level out here. It's oddly specific, 107.85. That's going to be a resistance level now. I've had it out here as I think I had it out here as support. It's kind of like a bit of a support and resistance level from all the price action since basically the fall of 2020, where we just kind of went sideways, double topped. Abbott. Gosh, let me take a look at this real quick, because Abbott might still have some downside.
By the way, while he's taking a look at that real quick, NVIDIA 210 call sweeps here for tomorrow. These are multiple buys. It looks like they're sweeping up all of the contracts. That's 1.5 points out of the money. So that looks like a bullish bet there on NVIDIA. Contracts expire tomorrow.
Yeah, so great movement here with Abbott today. This has been sinking for a while, so this is a nice turnaround. But I'm not sure that this is in recovery mode yet. If you look at a weekly or a monthly chart, you have a clear double top here that I don't think is fully resolved yet. There still could be some more downside in Abbott. I think it was just so oversold that bargain hunters looked at this and was like, "Hey, this seems pretty cheap." We're back down here at 2020 lows. What's up?
You know what else, 13, is I recall a lot of folks on CNBC, the talking heads, saying how much they liked Abbott for this year. I think it was Stephanie Link and Josh Brown. They really liked this. So perhaps you're getting those folks adding to their position at the discounted rate here.
So they don't like it next year?
I don't know. I mean, I probably will have to wait till the end of this year till they tell us that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is a nice relief rally. I don't know this is going to hold up. It looks to me like between 100 and 110, we're going to run into some resistance. We'll see if that ends up panning out. But I don't like the way this chart looks on the larger time frame charts. I don't like the way that looks. To me, it seems like we could be running into some resistance here in the next week or two.
Okay.
All right, let's see what we got here with these movers. Looks like IQST is still trying to fight for that upside here. It's interesting. It's almost matched the wicks from the pre-market here, like mirrored them almost exactly. If you zoom in, you can see like how we've been having these upper wicks.
Yep. Look at that.
And it looks like we're just kind of bookending this. And, if we can't get back above and hold 135 or 36, I think this maybe end up coming back down.
Really quick on the SPY, I did just get an all-out signal from the 0 DTE indicator. So if you were playing the curl here today, my indicator tells me now's the time to bail.
Hit eject. ONDS cut in. Oops, where'd that go? Cut in half in a month.
Yeah, those growth names, they've really been hit here. Now, Ondas is going to report earnings early next month. That's kind of what I'm waiting for here on this one.
Yeah, EKS. I have MDT. I used to own Abbott, but you know, I got out of that one. It's in, I think it was like the 120s or something like that. So I don't have Abbott anymore, but I liked this one. I was big on this one. You know, last time it was you know, in the low 90s back in 2023.
All right. The results are in, folks. The results from our poll are in. Which investor would you trust the most to manage your investment account entirely? Mark Cuban coming in first there at 35%. That's who I voted for, despite never seeing him and Rachel Maddow in the same room. Kevin O'Leary is second with 33%. Kathy Wood is third with 23%. And Jim Cramer coming in last with 9%. Good participation in our poll. Thank you, folks, for voting. We're going to have a story about that one coming up, I can assure you. Sal says, funny poll, really wouldn't trust any of them. That's why we chose those names.
Oh God, I'm so glad that she said that, because I looked at the poll and I was like, these are the choices.
I think that was part of the thought process there. Up 30, I'd pick Ryan in 13. You're too kind.
Remember when we used to talk nuclear and quantum? They've gotten shellacked, risk off vibes. Yeah, it'll be back though.
But that's the thing. That's what momentum is. Tim Melvin tells us this all of the time about momentum, is that you got to be quick. You got to do this. I mean, again, as far as Ondas goes, just want to remind everybody, we started talking about that at 77 cents. It went to $15. So whatever your trading parameters are should have taken care of you from that. Yes, the position's been cut in half in the last month, but that was after a tremendous, tremendous move. Lion says, don't hate Kramer. Lion, I'm glad you're here.
I don't think that was hate. I think that was just distrust.
Fair. And then Trevor saying, Kevin O, he must have voted 10K times, LOL, or had some bot farm vote for him.
Any thoughts on Celsius these days? The beverage, right?
CELH.
Let's see here. Oh, interesting spot that we're in. I have a $30 level marked off. Why? Don't know. Must have been another time I looked at this. I've got several drawings here. I must have looked at this back to a couple of years ago, because I haven't really looked at this in a while. But this trend line that we have here has been holding up pretty well. So I've got a trend line that starts from May of 2024, and you can figure out the rest. Got a consolidation channel. I guess I can get rid of this trend line since I don't think we'll ever see that again. Yeah, I don't know. It looks to me like this is trying to get a bottom established, so we can turn back up towards 40. But if it loses 30, then it looks like it could eventually come down into the low 20s again. But I think 30 is where I have my eyes on. I have this line out here for a reason. Don't remember what it was, but it's looking at the price action around it. I'd say $30 is a pretty important level that we need to hold above if we're going to go higher.
And Cam saying my favorite Celsius flavor is peach. So I don't do these energy drinks at all. I try to do stuff that is literally 0 calorie and doesn't have a bunch of like fake sugar and stuff in it. But Benzinga has like a thing with Celsius that every time I would go to the office, there are empty Celsius cans and full Celsius cans stocked in all of the mini fridges at the end caps of the different desks. And let me tell you, that peach vibe flavor, that is real. I don't even drink that stuff, and I thought it was good. I remember drinking it being like, this is dangerous. You can't start drinking these all the time. You got to stay away from it. Whew.
What are we thinking with the Qs?
Want me to pull it up here?
Sure. I mean, the longer time frame you go, the more it looks like it's kind of compressing. But at the same time, I feel like 700's the spot that we really can't lose.
Yeah. Yes, I would completely agree with that. 700 looks to be, in fact, 13. What we could do here is we could actually draw a triangle on this. We can just do something like this. And then let me get a trend line here from the top. We can kind of go down like this is what we see on the Qs.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a concerning formation there. It does look like this is going to potentially come back in. On a monthly chart, you have a pretty strong reversal candle here. Yeah, I think just keep an eye on 700 for the Qs. I think if we lose that, we're probably headed lower. All right, and then I was going to ask, what is my take on STDN? Let's see here. Standard Nuclear.
I can bring that up. I'm actually not familiar with that myself at all.
It's not bringing anything up here. STDN.
Yeah, check the ticker on that. STDN. That's what I don't have that. STND. Is it possible? Nope. Get a ticker check on that. Oh, is it an IPO that's coming?
Oh.
Is that today?
Let's see here.
Yes, it is. Okay, so this goes for trading today. It was priced at 15. It's not open yet. Good mention. Yeah, I don't have that open yet, but per Benzinga Pro here, I do have that set to IPO today.
Yeah, so
we'll have to do some work on that to give you an opinion on it. I haven't researched it at all, so I don't really have much to give you. But
the IPO was downsized from an earlier target of 18.25 million shares that were priced at $18 to $21. It gives the company a valuation of about $2.4 billion. It's led by Bank of America Securities and Goldman Sachs. And this will probably end up trading, around that time that we usually see these IPOs come out. It's either going to be sometime around 11 or 1. Let's see.
That sounds about right to me.
This is going to be like a nuclear fuel company. Well, I guess the other thing is let's see who this company works with. Maybe there's some already public names that might move in sympathy.
Sel says, Ryan, are you still holding Ondas? Yes. Remember, I'm on the trailer part of my position, so I've already sold like 90% of my position, and I actually plan on holding at least 1,000 shares indefinitely, just because the gains have already been made on that. I have more than that right now, and yeah, I'm definitely still holding that. That's long term.
So looks like Oklo is partnered with Standard Nuclear. Shine Technologies, Department of Energy, Chevron, I think, as well. But Oklo seems to be the biggest name here with this. They formed a strategic alliance. So maybe keep an eye on OKLO when Standard Nuclear debuts today.
Judge, take care of yourself. Be well with this terrible air quality that's out there. It still looks crazy.
Everybody be well with this air quality issue you guys are having. Please.
Lakshmi says, I like how SK Hynix is eating all USA investors' money since day one, listing on the U.S. exchanges. Plan back ratio, put credit spreads on it if you can't short it. Lakshmi, we appreciate you.
So anyway, that was just some thoughts there on Standard Nuclear. Keep an eye on Oklo.
S&P, by the way, again, I'll look to see if I have any news for this. S&P taking the next leg higher here. That continues to push higher. 754 now.
Did I see that you had Oklo up and it was kind of drowning?
I did have Oklo up,
wow.
and it is down 6% here today. So yeah,
this is kind of interesting. really interesting because you have this stock that's approaching oversold, and we have a strategic alliance partner debuting on the exchange today. That's super interesting because it's the right. It seems like it's about the right time for Oklo to get some support, being down where it is right now. Let's see if maybe it goes down to 40 before it gets that support. I'm looking at the daily chart here, and I can see that we are filling a gap back from May of last year, and that takes us down to about $40 where that fills. That's only a couple bucks away, maybe a few bucks away. This is kind of interesting. I don't know if we're going to get all that we're talking about here, where we get the gap fill, the standard nuclear debuts, and this thing runs in sympathy with it. I don't know if we're going to get all that, but can't deny how interesting this setup is here for Oklo. We are gap filling to the downside right now from a gap in May 22nd to 23rd.
And by the way, we'll close it off here with this. Market Sniper saying, what's up with Stack? I didn't see any news on this. I do see this as one of those China names, and the float is under 1 million. So we've kind of identified that as like a sub theme here. Looks like it's just kind of running on a volume pop. Decent move here, but I don't see any catalyst under that. All right, 13, we're out of time here. You got any closing words for the group? Really good day here. This is a stacked day, but a good day nonetheless.
Stack, you were just talking about stack.
That's right. Anyway. I had to do it.
Maybe it's the short interest with STAK in addition to the low float. I mean, it's 76% of the float shorted. Anyway, if you decide to trade that one, just know what you're trading. Be very careful. It could make or break you. And we'll see what we end up getting here tomorrow. Enjoy that Starship launch later today.
Yes.
It's going to be afternoon after the market is already closed. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see the market reaction to that with SpaceX in the morning. Until then, folks, I will see you then. Take care. Goodbye.
All right, really good stuff here, 13. Appreciate you a lot. We'll see 13 tomorrow, folks. We're done here for today, but we'll be back at this again tomorrow. If you're anywhere that's being affected by the wildfire smoke, probably stay inside. It is really rough on the lungs. Be safe. Stay green. Stay safe. Stay focused. We'll see you tomorrow. Take